Mix Radio.
Welcome to this week's edition of the Leadership Blend with your host, Ricardo D. Rice, on this lovely Monday edition. And today we have interns in the studio, which I am happy to have in the studio. So interns, introduce yourself. They're not new voices, so you've heard their voices. You've heard their voices in past shows and all that good stuff. So they're not new voices that you're hearing today, but they're on the show today. So introduce yourselves.
I'm Starr Celestin. I have been on the show before. I don't really know what other exciting things to say about myself, so Darran.
All right, well, I'm Darran. I'm back on the show once again. It's kind of getting to the point like a professional doing this or whatnot. But we're going to miss Starr, you guys. Today is her last day, so it's kind of bittersweet that she's joining me for the first time and also for the last time.
Oh, wow.
We're not about to have this crying fest.
I appreciate the sadness. Sometimes you need a little sap in your life. So
we're not about to have this crying fest today because I said I wasn't going to, so no, we're not about to do that.
We're not going to do it.
We're not going to do that today. So, on that note, when you have an internship program, you're granted a lot of interns, and even though the one at the station is fairly new, some people come in, they kind of have a personality. I mean, those that know me know I have a pretty big personality, and there are very few people that have the same kind of level of energy and a big personality that you can have when I walk in the room. And Starr actually has that. So it's I'm kind of sad, but I'm not gonna let her know it, but she's knowing it now because I'm saying it. But it's kind of sad to see her go. But she's not leaving. She's going back to school. So it's not.
So
really
it's a good reason.
Yeah. Yes, it's a good reason, and I knew that going in, and I knew that she would be one of the shorter term interns. Doesn't make me feel any better, but it's fine. It's one of those things. So we're just gonna kind of go through it.
It makes me happy to hear you say how you think I have a big personality, because I remember the first time we did and when we did our little interview right here, Ricardo was like, yeah, the only thing that I noticed about you is you're a little shy. And I was like, well, we'll see.
Right.
Just give it a minute.
Oh,
yeah. Yeah, it just kind of sucks. Some of the ones you actually like, I mean, I love them all. I don't want to say that. I love them all. But, there's some special people that have special personalities, and, you hate to see them go, but you have to go. And Starr's one of the people I'm not worried about doing well. And she's one of the few people I actually be looking for when she's back on summer break. And by then, the IBNX is in a huge building out in Buckhead with 15 floors, and they were like, there's some chick downstairs named Starr saying she knows you trying to get upstairs. Oh, yeah, let her up.
She
Star
started
C.
from the bottom with
Let her up.
The bouginess won't apply to me, so.
Well, like I said, by then I'll be getting my Wilhelmina Slater on, so I'll be yelling at folks and calling for Mark and telling people to bring cars and all that
Mark,
good stuff.
Mark, go get Starr for me. I'm not going to walk down those stairs.
I mean, it's all those good things I'm looking forward to. So, in any event. All right, so it's Monday. We just came off the weekend. So a lot of things happened this weekend, and, of course, everybody knows I like to do my current events. So there were a couple of articles that kind of stuck out over the weekend. Of course, as we know, a living legend died. Miss Aretha Franklin died. So, homage to the Queen. I think most people remember Aretha Franklin for her older stuff. Anytime I hear Pink Cadillac, I'm about to stop my car and go get on the side of the road and just act a fool because, we're going to ride on the freeway. So Pink Cadillac, of course, Respect, Chain of Fools. Actually, it's a lot of the songs you hear them sing on, like, reality singing shows. So American Idol, you hear them singing Chain of Fools. I remember Von Zell Solomon sung that. Respect, Pink. I mean, these are all classics that people will, I can't say you'll never be able to hear because her music will live on. But, the fact that she's no longer here. And, it's always funny because when people die, people start doing, because of the internet, people do these little viral tributes. Yeah. So a lot of the performances that they put up, I'd never seen from Aretha Franklin. I'm more of a Patti person myself, but I will never discredit Aretha for what she did because outside of being a musician, she was also an activist and did a lot of things and made a lot of leeway and headway in movie, film, and music. So she was an American icon. People loved her. We're really going to miss her. So that was, I think, one of the bigger things that happened over the weekend. But a couple of articles kind of threw me through a loop this weekend. And I think the main one is, okay, so about a month ago, we had the conversation about Jack Phillips, who was the Colorado baker, who would not make a cake for a same-sex couple. And it went to court, and he won. And his logic was his religion won't allow him to do something like that. He feels like marriage is between a man and a woman, and he will not condone anything outside of that because it's his religious belief. So when a same-sex couple came in asking for him to make a cake for their same-sex wedding, he would not do it based off his religious practices. Well, people had a fit about it, but then at the same token, the case was made that he did the same thing for somebody that wanted a Halloween cake because his religion does not condone pagan gods, so he refused to make a cake for Halloween. So it's not like he just picks and chooses what he wants to do. He has a legitimate gripe that says, my religion will not allow me to make a cake for a same-sex couple because I believe that marriage is between a man or a woman. Well, he's back because this time he will not make a cake for a transgendered woman 1 year anniversary. So
does she walk in and say, hey, I want a cake, or hey, I want a cake because I'm like, what does her being transgender matter that she wanted a cake?
Yeah,
like what made her say that? That's all I want to know. Like
transition day, like was it about that or was it just a cake?
Yeah, because
and he saw.
I would be like, hey, I want a cake. And he would be like, "Oh yeah, what's your gender?" And I'm like,
"Yeah, then I'm like, you asked
okay,
too many
first
questions."
of all, y'all are college kids, so I need y'all to think better than that.
Okay.
How does that process work? When you go to Publix and say, "I want a cake," what are they going to ask you for?
What do you want on it?
Your phone number, your payment.
Your name, your number,
after all
your
of
card.
that. After all of that. Okay, clearly
Your
y'all don't
ID.
get cakes a lot. Clearly y'all don't get cakes enough.
Your ID.
When you go to a cake place, you say, "Well, hey, I would like a cake." Okay, well, what's the occasion? Okay, well, my occasion is blah, blah, blah. We're having a birthday party or we're having an anniversary. They're going to ask you what the occasion is.
Okay.
So I'm sure he said, what's the occasion? She said, well, it's the 1 year of me being transgender.
Oh, so that's what it was.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it was her 1 year anniversary of her being transitioned from a man to a woman.
Oh, okay.
So
there
that's how that started.
Okay.
Well, it doesn't.
I'm gonna need y'all to think better.
Well,
than that.
no. I don't order cakes like that. So it's just like, I mean, I thought you go over there and tell them what you want. You can these days you can do it online. Like I don't even have to talk to you to tell you what kind of cake I want. Like I can do it online, Walmart.com, Kroger.
So, question
Publix.
that I have for you. Okay, in this situation, do you think that is it a trans woman or trans man?
It is a man having transitioned to a woman.
Okay, so it's trans woman. So a trans woman, do you think that she should have just not said kept it vague? Or, I mean, I feel like they're fighting for the right to not have to keep it vague, But I feel like in that situation, I would rather just keep it vague because I don't want all the hoopla. Just give me my cake. I don't want any, I don't think that I would be thinking about it deeply enough to where I'm like, I deserve to not have to be vague, so I'm not going to be and make this a big thing when I'd rather just get my cake, even if I'm lying about what's on the cake, just to pass the time. Do you think that...
Okay, so let me give you more specifics about the case.
Okay.
All right, so the incident happened in June of 2017. It was a lawyer. Autumn Scardina, said she asked for a cake with a pink interior and blue exterior to celebrate the anniversary of transitioning from male to female. The woman on the phone told her that she does not make cakes celebrating gender changes. That's what was written in the court complaint.
Okay, so the person, the trans woman, went to this person who she know, and she said she's a lawyer, right?
Yeah.
So do you think she?
Oh, she was ready.
She was ready for okay, I want to get a cake. I'm a transgender. I'm celebrating my 1 year transgender, thing. I think she did that. I think she did it on purpose.
Because she went to the guy that already had issues.
Exactly.
She should have went to somebody else. She should have already knew that this guy was gonna
do that. Yeah. This was planned.
Yeah, this was planned.
All right, now hold on. To play devil's advocate, though, they're in Colorado. So maybe he's the best in Colorado. Colorado, to
You
me,
can
is
go
not
get more
huge.
cake
He's the
somewhere
best.
else.
You should be more upset that this person has already been proven to not be for what you're
Exactly.
for.
I wouldn't
So
even want
why
to give
would-
my sale to this person.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then,
Cake Boss delivers from New York. You could get from somewhere else.
but you can't say that though, because his religion is his religion. So I don't think I would have known, even with Christians. I think that particular issue is still up in the air. So you can't say
But
that
this
all
guy's
Christians.
a repeat offender.
Yeah, but one was the same sex and the other was a Halloween cake.
Okay, and you think
That
that
he's gonna do
your
your
transition?
But clearly, he must be the best in Colorado if they felt the need to go to him again.
Well, let's go to another state. What's next to Colorado? You can go somewhere else and
You-
get it delivered.
I don't know. I feel like I want to say North Dakota, and I'm pretty sure I'm wrong.
There's a
But
Dakota
I feel like I
around
want to say
there.
North Dakota. I don't know.
Actually, I think Colorado.
Oh,
How
wow.
about the
Colorado is a little
Colorado.
bit in the
Colorado.
middle-ish. I think like Wyoming and Nebraska around it.
In any event, are these popular places?
No.
Okay, so I think it's a matter of, it's like I'm from a small town, and
He can go to Utah or Kansas.
I was right
again,
about
are these
Utah.
popular places?
New Mexico.
Kansas?
Oh,
is
yeah,
Damn.
let's get a cake for New Mexico.
I'm just saying. He could have.
In any event,
Breaking Bad flavor.
I mean, the reality is, I don't think anybody would. You never know where Christians fall on a lot of issues because there's so new paradigms of thought. So this group of Christians doesn't believe this. This group of Christians doesn't believe this. So it's hard to decipher. Is there a middle run of things that Christians just don't like?
I guess in general that's justifiable in the sense that if they were to go to any Christian establishment and then they could be like, oh, well, I didn't know what sort of Christian. But this guy had gone to court, and if he's not making Halloween cakes, come on. My mom is from Haiti and I know she knows a little bit of voodoo, and even she lets me celebrate Halloween. So I really think if this man wasn't about to make a Halloween cake, you should have known he wasn't going to make you. I think she was playing, especially since she's a lawyer. Oh,
Yeah,
That's
but
what
that
it
won't
was.
do any good because he's already won his previous case.
But she could have started. I mean,
A new
okay,
case.
here's like you were telling me before about something else. Like if you put it in a folder, a lot more people may come back and say it and say it and say it. And class action lawsuits are getting very popular nowadays. So she could just be starting something.
Yeah, but you got to remember the basis for a class action lawsuit. It has to be in essence, and I'm summarizing, in essence, a body of individuals who were directly harmed or inconvenienced by the efforts or actions of a company, corporation, or organization. That's not going to be them. It's going to be hard to make a class action lawsuit because the man won't bake you a cake. Like, that's not how that works.
I think she was plotting.
I think she was plotting, and I think she should have went somewhere else. I'm sorry.
I mean, look.
Now, to
I might plot
kind of
too.
give y'all a little thought, maybe some fuel. All right, so on June 28th of this year, so the incident
today's
happened
after my
in
birthday.
June of 2017. So on June 28th of this year, Colorado regulators said there was sufficient evidence to support Scardina's claim of discrimination based on her transgender status and ordered the two sides to compulsory mediation, which means they're not going to court. They're going to sit down with a mediator to see if they can avoid going to court.
Just get your cake somewhere else. Why
that's
would
what
you
I'm saying.
continue after that?
But again, you start getting into LGBTQ
rights.
rights. So
But
people,
if you were so passionate about LGBTQ rights, why would you go out of your way, best baker or not, to go to somebody who has already vocally and verbally said, "I'm not for your rights"? And if it's and
Because
if you're
of his
so
religious
passionate
beliefs,
enough,
not just
and if
because he
you're
doesn't want
and
to.
if you're so passionate enough about about LGBTQ rights to where you would take this man to court for not making you a cake, why did you go there in the first place? It just doesn't add up. It doesn't add up. And you know what? I mean, kudos to her. She might get some coins. She might get some clout from bringing this up.
Who has time to take somebody to court over a cake?
A lawyer. She don't gotta.
I just.
She don't gotta pay for a
Who has
lawyer.
time?
She don't gotta pay no lawyer.
What you gonna
fee.
go for a cake? That somebody didn't make for me. Like, okay.
She probably had a lot of time on her hands.
A lot, yeah. Applied.
I mean, it's Colorado. How much is happening out there since they passed in all these laws?
well, I mean, but then reciprocally, and that's play devil's advocate. Is it based on that same premise you just said about going to somebody else? Is it fair that they keep picking on this particular baker? Because in essence, you know, especially you being a lawyer, I'm sure you've seen the jurisprudence of the previous cases, so you know how he feels on a lot of different issues.
Mm-hmm.
So why go to him knowing the probability of it being high that he's not going to want to do it? why go to him? So
Yeah.
that's what he said. He said he feels like he's being singled out
Yeah.
to be picked on.
Yeah.
So
and
is that a legitimate gripe?
I think that's true because I feel like one of the, I guess, benefits of him the first time this happened is, okay, at least now more people know that I'm not going to do these sort of cakes. So I'll have less issues because they're not going to come to me because maybe they don't like me or for whatever reason. And so I can understand he'd be mad like, this again? Like, I already told y'all.
Like, oh, what
I
is
already
it?
told you.
All right, so this is what he said. He said, I know the Bible says that God created male and female and that we don't get to choose that and we don't get to change that. And I don't feel like the government has a right to compel me to participate in creating a cake that promotes that message. Those were his words.
So now he's using the Bible.
Well, he's a Christian. That's what he said
that's
anyway.
what he's been using.
That's
the
why
whole
he didn't
time.
make the
Halloween
same-sex
the
cake
same-sex
because
cake and the
marriage is
transgender
between a
cake.
man and a woman. It's not between
Old
same sexes.
school Christian.
He's an old school
He's
Christian. I bet the
like-
cake is good though.
He probably got Jesus sandals. No, the
He-
cake better be
the
good.
cake better
the
be
cake
off
better
the
be the
chain.
best cake I'd ever
All
put
right,
in my mouth.
so now
at the end of the
because they brought this action, now he's taking his own action. So Phillips is asking the court for a permanent injunctions against the state from enforcing Colorado anti-discrimination laws against him, as well as $100,000 in punitive damages.
Wait a second. So it wouldn't be double jeopardy because now
Get out of my head, because when I read it, I was like, oh, so we're crossing into double jeopardy. But I think
Yeah.
double jeopardy, I think you have to be convicted to not be tried again in double jeopardy.
Oh, you can't just be like acquitted. You can't. I mean,
No,
don't
I
even
think
know if that's-
you have to be, but then I'm thinking about it on a murder level. But I'm thinking that's how that goes. I think you have to be tried and actually guilty and found convicted to
Okay.
not be double jeopardy again.
Well, how come double jeopardy wasn't even a conversation? Is it because this wasn't? Because I feel like it's within the same realm of LGBTQ, at least with the first cake, not the Halloween cake, and this one. I feel like they fall within the same category. So wouldn't it be?
Well, I think it depends though, because you gotta remember with the law gets so funny because you start getting into different types of law. So double jeopardy may be just a criminal
law. Okay.
statute or law, something like
that's
that.
true. I've
It may
never-
not be. This is more of a torts.
Corporation.
Crap, what is the thing called? And I should know this stuff. This is more of a torts area, which is okay, I'll think about it in a minute. But this is not criminal. So
Okay.
I think double jeopardy may only be criminal. Don't quote me on that, but I think that's only criminal.
Okay.
But that's what he's saying. He wants a permanent injunction so that people can't keep bringing these lawsuits against him.
Do you
and then
think they
he's-
would do that?
What?
I think they should do that. I think that at this point, if it's happened 3 times, third time's a charm. Let's just cut it. Let's just cut it.
Well, again, but then you get into, and this is the struggle that I always have when you start getting into protected classes of people and when it's time to pick your battles. Okay, you've already fought with this man pretty much twice. So why are we going at him again?
Yeah, and I think that what he would have to help his case is that if these people know that I wouldn't make this cake for them and they're coming to me, clearly there's not enough bakers out there. So it would be more, I feel like it's more justified for him to need it because obviously no one has anywhere else to go. And they're just going to keep getting upset and I'm going to keep getting sued.
I'm sure they got a Walmart.
They definitely, at least
Okay,
the
well, I don't
Publix.
want Walmart making my cake. So
Wait, what state is this in?
This is Colorado.
Oh, so they don't got no Publix. Yeah.
Don't they?
No, Publix is a southern thing.
Oh.
Yeah, they don't even have Publix in DC. They got, what is it? They don't have Piggly Wiggly.
Oh, that's a South thing too. We have that.
What is it? What? Wawa. But that's not a
Who?
gas. That's like a gas
What?
station, Wawa or something.
It sounds like
It's a gas station.
It
Sounds
sounds
like
like
a
a
car
baby
wash.
term. Wawa. I don't
Like some
understand.
Wawa.
I don't
You
understand.
want a Wawa?
Oh no. It's
Well, the problem with these kind of cases is everybody else starts wanting to get involved. So of
Mhm.
course the transgender, because she is a part of the LGBTQ community. Now they're gonna go get them, and then because he's a
Yes.
Christian, now he's gonna
Yeah.
get the Christian Alliance
and it's
of
gonna be a big
holy
thing.
Yeah,
holy
it's a big
rollers
thing.
to get involved. So now it becomes this big hoopla. Now on his earlier cases, which began in 2012, the decision was 7-2, but it was very narrow. That left unresolved whether business owners have the right to free speech and the right to refuse to sell goods and services to same-sex couples. So it's still gray. So again, this is where the issue comes in because people don't picking and fighting what battles becomes hard when you're trying to fight and advocate for protected classes of people. Because the same thing could have been said about African Americans when they were trying to get the right to vote. Okay, well, stop beating a dead horse. You know, it's separate but equal. This is what it is. Accept it. Move on.
Yeah.
We're saying the same thing now. Okay, he's not going to make your cake. Accept it. Move on.
I mean, it all comes down to the freedom of speech because it's if you can say that you have the right to say and believe whatever, you kind of have to give the same thing to the other side.
We
and I
can't
think
compare
that's where
baking a cake to voting.
No. I'm not talking about
Actually,
that. I mean,
in the terms of discussion, because that's how the discussion went at that time. Separate but equal was the law. And African Americans said, no, that's not fair because you can't equate me to half an individual or half a human being because I happen to be of another race. People on the other side said, okay, well, we're not changing it. It's the law. Move on. Same conversation here. This man has the right to refuse service and the right to not bake your cake because of his Christian beliefs. And a lot of the laws that were Jim Crow laws were based on Christian beliefs, a Christian belief system. It's the same conversation that, okay, well, he's not going to make the cake, so move on. That's kind of what we're telling the LGBT. The couple, now this transgender woman who wants to celebrate a 1-year anniversary of being
And
trans.
then he didn't even want to do Halloween, so now that goes into other religious beliefs. Like,
yeah. I mean, I think the biggest difference, obviously, between the voting and the cake. Well, I think the voting thing is even more. Yeah, we keep talking about cake. I'm playing myself. The voting is even that law was just very contradictory because you're giving freedom to all and taking freedom from some. So I think that's the biggest contradictory part. But conversation-wise, at the end of the day, at its root, it's really is the same conversation. But honestly, the whole thing is a circle. It's the whole thing is just a loop, and it's not. I don't know if it's gonna end.
We have to be careful with these kinds of cases because it'll set the precedence for what's to come.
Exactly.
So if a jury or they decide that, hey, owners have the exclusive right to refuse service, what's to stop somebody from saying, well, I don't want to serve black people because it's my religious belief, and they still believe like Jim Crow stuff. That's my religious belief. That's what I believe. That's what I adhere to. So my religion says I don't have to serve black folks. So if you set a precedence that says owners have the right to the exclusive right to refute service to people based on religious beliefs, you have to be careful if you pass on that.
Yeah, because then you're going to start getting a whole slew of stores.
And granted, it may not start with us. It may not be minorities, but it may be Muslims. Okay, well, my belief says I don't have to serve Muslims because I feel like y'all bombed the trade centers. Religion gets you all kinds of places. So that's why these kind of cases become so important because the outcome will predict where we go with those specific kind of laws. So that's why it's kind of a big deal. But again, I kind of agree with you guys. Like, I feel like we're singling this guy out, but I also feel like they're trying to prove a point. That you can't just do what you want to do. Well, the court has said he kind of can. So in this particular regard, we're kind of beating a dead horse. So...
Well, okay, like the cake, I remember a few years ago they had, I mean, not years ago, I'm not that old.
I was about to say, what is it, like 2 days ago?
No,
Exactly.
like I think last year or 2 years ago they had the transgender bathrooms in North Carolina, where that was a big tiff about them saying that they're not going to make the transgender bathrooms, and people were telling them. But I think that whole thing was so easily solvable. Just make 6 single bathrooms.
Okay, first of all, that's not an easy fix.
It is an easy fix.
That is not an easy fix because you're talking about infrastructure that has been in places for decades. You can't just break a wall and add a bathroom.
But you could just make a hallway and make bathroom. Wherever this bathroom that would have been, just make you can even just make one single bathroom.
Okay, I'm going to make you think like a college student.
Okay.
So, and let's look at the studio. This particular studio.
Okay.
Do you think we're in a financial situation where we could break a wall down and add another 2? Actually, we only have 1. We're in a situation where we can make 4 bathrooms.
No, but here's it. Okay,
How does the
maybe you don't need to
bathroom
make
look?
6. Maybe
that's the next question.
What they're saying is like you would have instead of having it's really the same thing as just having a single bathroom. That's why I don't understand the argument. But it would basically be like you have a women's bathroom, a man's bathroom, and then transgender where anybody can go into it. Why don't you just have a one single bathroom?
Why not just call it like a family bathroom or something?
And just have a one bathroom in there. Why do you need to have?
Okay, next question.
I
think Starr is too. Okay, so the next question becomes, and I'll think about, it's two guys and a female. Okay. So let's think about you. Would you want to share back? I'll go to that family bathroom thing you just said. Okay. Would you want to be in a bathroom with another man?
No. And I think that, and I had an argument with people at my school about this because my school is extremely liberal and sometimes very narrow-minded. But I was telling, because the guy, I think it was the governor or the mayor, was saying, well, we have to think about our women and our children and their safety. And people were saying, like, oh, he's just using that as an excuse to hide his, like, homophobia and transphobia. And I was like, okay, maybe he could be. But at the end of the day, there are sick people out there and there are messed up people. So there could very well be someone who sees that opportunity of, like, oh, I'm a man and I'm allowed to go in this bathroom, and so are little girls. And as soon as something happens, then it's going to be a whole free-for-all. Right, but that's what you signed up for. And I think a lot of people are not taking that into the reality of the world into consideration, that there are messed up people and people are going to do messed up things. And then on top of that, like you're saying, Ricardo, I just wouldn't be very comfortable using a bathroom with a man in the room, because we have a lot of gender-neutral bathrooms at my school. And I'll go into the bathroom, and I just lock the entire bathroom because I don't want a man to come in there. And that's just my comfort level, and now I got 6 stalls to myself. So.
But I mean, again, we go back to blurred lines. Mm-hmm. And honestly, when it comes to educating kids on gender, we're still trying to figure out how to incorporate a homosexual lifestyle in a school education system. So, now you're bringing in transgender and trying to explain to a child how Uncle Jim is now Aunt Lucy. Mm-hmm. So it's conversations that we've never wanted to have, and now we're starting to be forced to have these conversations. Yeah. And now we're being forced to accommodate these kinds of lifestyle changes. Of course, for me, I don't go either way. People do what they want to do. Mm-hmm. But as somebody who is rearing kids, I do think about these kinds of things because of the twins. So it's like, okay, well, if Caleb's in the bathroom and somebody who looks like a female walks in his bathroom, it's going to be... It's a very long story, but yes.
I didn't know you had kids.
It's a very long story, but yes.
Like your children, like...
It's not biological, but it is biological because I've had them since they were 2 months old. Oh. And I've raised them in essence. So if anybody's ever seen my Facebook, you see these 2 kids, they're mine in essence. So having kids that you're raising, you start thinking about this kind of stuff. So now I'm just like, okay, well, if Caleb's in the bathroom and somebody who looks like a female walks in the bathroom, it's going to be instinctive for him to go, you're in the wrong bathroom, because he's a kid and that's what he's taught, because we still haven't learned how to teach them about transgendered, same-sex, all of those things.
And kids are just very...
Curious.
They're curious and so confused about everything. Unfortunately, I'm a nanny, and I had a 4-year-old that I was watching the other day, and I unfortunately let myself be the one that taught him that sometimes people don't have other siblings and that sometimes people remarry. And I caught myself way too late because I was like, you know what, you're 4. This is too much for you to.
I was about to say, you already opened the door now, so she's like,
Mama, yeah, wait, Daddy, what?
Well, I was telling him about this other little girl I babysat, and he goes, well, I was just like, yeah, she lives with her mom, something. And yeah, that's it. And he turned away. He's like, oh, okay. And a minute later, he turns around and he goes, so are her brother and dad dead? And I was like, no,
she should know better. I'm disappointed. You should know better.
I was like, she just doesn't have a brother. And he just didn't understand the concept. He was like, well, I have a sister and I'm the brother. How come all families don't have a brother, a sister, a dad, a mom? And I was like, sometimes people don't have brothers. He was like, so the brother's just not on the way? I was like, no, she's just not having a brother. He was like, forever? I don't know about that, but for now, yeah, she doesn't have one. And
he just broke his little
mind blown.
Yeah, you're not gonna.
I blew his mind a lot of times that day. He thought I was older than his mom, and when he found out I wasn't, he didn't get it. He didn't know. Oh gosh, but yeah, all that to say, I feel like children they're literally sponges. So I feel like. And they have no censor. They just say whatever they
comes
want.
to their mind.
So I feel like when you get in that, there was this teacher actually, in the news like a year ago who was saying how she was trying to teach her students about gender fluidity, and one day she would come in as Mrs. whatever her name was, and some days she comes in as Mr., and some days, and there was a lot of argument because there were some parents who were like, that's all fine and dandy, but I don't need you confusing my 4 or 5-year-old kid every day saying Mrs., Mr., Mrs., Miss, when they can barely even remember how to spell their own name. So, and I feel like that was a big discussion because people were like, well, she should have the right to do that, but at the same time, like, where's the line, especially with children, because they're so susceptible, and it's not an argument of, it's not a conversation of saying we don't want them to know these things, but there's always a conversation of when. There's a time for everything.
Because again, I think about the twins, I'm like, if we were to explain this to...
They don't even know what you're saying. They barely even remember the conversation that they had.
Yeah, I can barely get
breakfast.
Caleb to remember green from orange, and now you're telling me that we need to explain to him transgendered and same sex and all this good stuff. It's really a thing. But on that note, we're going to take our first break, and when we come back, we're going to talk more about this and other topics and current events on the Leadership Blend with your host, Ricardo D. Rice.
I can say that you're wonderful, but it doesn't seem good enough. I can say that you're kind, but that would miss the mark. I can say that you're beautiful, but to me you are so much more. How do I communicate exactly who you are? I'm trying to convey the sentiment of my heart and say I really do appreciate the way you brighten up my day. I can't find the words to describe you. It would take a million years. It would take a million years to explain the way I feel. You are the epitome. You are the epitome of everything I'll ever need. I'm so in awe of you, Lord. You leave me speechless. Now, if I had more time, I would go down the line and name all the things that captivate my heart. But clearly I'm not aware of words that can compare. How do I communicate exactly who you are? I'm trying to convey the sentiments of my heart and say I really do appreciate the way you brighten up my day. Oh, I can't find the words to describe you. It would take a million years. It would take a million years to explain the way I feel. Lord, you are the epitome. You each laugh.
Hey everybody, it's Ricardo D. Rice from the Leadership Blend, simplifying your leadership. All right, we are back on this Monday edition of the Leadership Blend with the host Ricardo D. Rice and my correspondents,
Darren Edwards.
Star Celeste.
All right, for those that do not know that today is Star's last day, so I have to say that every time we come back from break, because I feel like if we were a TV show, we'd be playing a little fades of we'd be doing a little fades
In recognition of.
in recognition of her hard work, her hard month or two of work. Yeah, it's yeah. All right, so when we left, we were talking about this whole Colorado baker Jack Phillips refuses to do a cake to celebrate this transgender woman's transition, 1 year anniversary of her transition, based on his spiritual beliefs. He believes that a man and a woman, or a man, gender is created by God, and nobody should be able to change that. And as a result, he refused to make a cake to commemorate an occasion like that because he doesn't believe in it. Those that are not familiar, Jack Phillips also was in litigation the last couple of years because he refused to bake a cake for a same-sex couple for their wedding based on pretty much the same belief that marriage is sacred between a man and a woman, which is biblical, and he refused to do anything to commemorate an occasion like that because he doesn't believe in it. Well, the court sided with him and said that he has that right to refute to do something that's not within the confines of his belief system, his spiritual belief system. So that's what we were talking about when we left. So yeah, what did we conclude on that? What are y'all conclusions on that?
My conclusion is if you can't find somebody to do what you want them to do, you find another.
Yeah.
Just like a lover.
Do we need to go back to the conversation about voting and stuff? Do we need to
Yeah,
go back to that conversation?
We did. However,
Because
I mean,
if I want you to think, you're a college student.
I wouldn't give my business to someone like that if if I don't like what you're selling or what you're doing, then I'm gonna okay, I'm not giving my business to you, point blank period. Because
Yeah, I
we go
think
through that all the
there's-
time in restaurants here in the South. I'm from Mississippi. Do you know how much
Oh.
stuff we deal with down there?
Jesus.
I haven't, however, but I've heard stories.
That's because you
So-
light skin.
So, however, we I
That-
can't
that's
go, I
because
can't,
Beyond
I
that.
can't, I can't go sue someone because they're ignorant to the situation or they just don't want my business. I can't do that. I don't have the time for that actually. So it's just I hope you well.
I think
Okay.
there's two different mindsets. I think there's the one, and I feel a little bit of both, but it wasn't until you brought up that these cases do set the precedent for all the cases that come after it. They're going to be like, oh, remember when whatever her last name is versus whoever they are. And it's going to be essential, I guess, in how we go forward. So I feel like in that sense, that is very important, and it is hard for me to also say that at the same time, had it been me, you're just not going to catch me there because I already know I don't want that sort of energy even around something that's supposed to be a positive thing for me. But at the same time, I do understand, especially as a lawyer, she probably did think about it in that sense of, well, this could be a game changer for how things go from this point on. And now that you brought up too that really people already use that religion card left and right like it's a Uno card, ridiculous. But
A draw four.
Yeah.
It's a draw four Uno card.
People are doing that all the time, so I feel like even though this man may not be having malicious intent, a lot of people from his success in this case, if he does succeed, will probably start to go.
I
down
wouldn't even
that
want
road.
him making my cake though.
I don't even
like-
want him making.
But see,
no
Darren, this is the
cakes.
problem. I got to get you out of this because
Okay.
this is the problem.
Come on, get
with
me out.
I got to get you out of this. As a college student and a minority male,
Okay.
we can't look at it like that. Let me frame it differently.
Okay.
So let's say that you really wanted this Gucci belt,
Mhm.
and Gucci told you, "I'm sorry, based on my religious belief, I don't believe that people that make less than 50,000 should be able to buy my clothes or buy my belt."
Oh.
And you really want this belt, and
That's
you happen to
right.
have the money to afford the belt, but you don't meet the social economic status that he wants you to have to be able to purchase his goods and be, in essence, a brand ambassador because you're wearing his clothing. Because he only wants his clothing to be reflective of those individuals
Of wealth.
who make above 50,000 a year, and he doesn't feel like that's the class that you fit into. Think about it that way. So you say, well, I can actually buy the belt. I may not be able to afford your products ongoing, but I can buy this particular belt. So why should I not be allowed to buy this particular belt? Think about it that way.
That's a good and bad example, and I'm gonna play devil advocate.
That is
for
a bad
Darren.
example, but you know,
That is-
it's
that's
the
a
one I
good
can think of.
example. That's a good example. I'm thinking about the Tommy Hilfiger not the Tommy Hilfiger.
Oh yeah.
Well, he
Tommy
was one
Hilfiger,
too.
and also the Timberlands. You know, everybody was, you know, the minority. We love Timberlands when it comes to wintertime, especially in New York, because I see them all everywhere. But it's just like, you know, do you know what the tree represents? And we know what the tree represents, but we still continue to wear it. So
Actually,
it's just like
I didn't.
I don't
realize
know that.
I didn't
Yeah,
know
what
that.
is-
you guys
until
didn't know
said
that?
I
did not
still
know
don't
Yeah,
know.
it was-
I mean,
It
now
was-
I
it
can
was-
assume, but yeah, I didn't know.
allegedly it was regarding, you know,
A hanging tree, yes.
a hanging tree. That's what the tree is for. Allegedly, that's all I'm gonna put out there. That was been said. And
Full
of
disclaimer
course-
on the
of course
leadership
Tim-
button
of
that we
course
I'm
Timberland
not
said,
condoning
"No,
the
it's
thoughts,
not that,"
processes,
but
and
yeah.
ideologies of my correspondents, and they're not always reflective
Yeah,
of what I think or
no,
feel.
No, I'm telling you, allegedly, this is what was said
Wow,
once
and I have
in the media.
3 pairs in my closet.
And I love
too.
Timberlands.
Yeah.
Look,
And
I'm not gonna ride that.
And
jet.
see,
I'm
you
not
ain't wanna
getting
ride-
on that train.
Exactly.
Okay,
exactly.
back to the example I was giving you.
Let's
Do
go
you
back to cake.
understand?
Yes.
So I'm saying if in Colorado, if there's only 3 bakery shops, and
And
this
that's another thing.
particular,
It's a bakery. It's not just
A business.
one. Like that business I have to go to. You know what I'm saying? Like there are other bakers out
but we
here.
don't. If
That's true.
again,
You can't get a Gucci belt nowhere else.
that's where it separates the whole, you know, Gucci from the Timberland to this. It's only one of them. It's only one Gucci. It's only one
yeah.
Timberland. It's only one Fendi. Bakers,
It's
many
a
of
cake.
them.
It's a cake.
It's a cake.
You may
It's
just
many
need to
of
take
them.
the L
So
and eat a bad cake.
Actually, no. You can still say it because there are Gucci flagship stores, and there are probably Gucci like outlet-ish type stores.
Was
So
this
there
guy
are other
on
options.
TV? Was this guy on TV? Was this on diners, drive-ins, and dives? Like, is this a renowned baker?
Well, that's what I'm saying. This could be in their city. He could, like, I think about where I'm from. I'm from a place called Barnville, Hampton. There's not a lot of anything. So if, you know, it would be the equivalent. Actually, I could use that in the confines of my city. When I think of having a cake made, we have a Piggly Wiggly, but I don't know if they make cakes that good. I don't know.
Sam's cakes are good.
See, but we don't have that
Sam's
option in
Club?
my city. We don't have Sam's.
Yes.
We don't have Sam's. We don't have Walmart. We don't have Publix. So when it comes to baking cakes where I'm from, there are like country bakers. Like I can't remember her name, but she makes good sheet cakes, and this one makes a good thin cake. So there are specialty people that make cakes where I'm from because it's a small place, and there's no Walmart. There's no Publix. I don't even know if Piggly Wiggly makes cakes like that.
You know what? They do, and they are good.
Oh, whatever. You're just taking a guess.
No.
You're just taking a
I
guess. You
had
don't know
them
that.
in South Carolina. They are good. They were cupcakes, but if you make good cupcakes,
Well, that's
if
not
you
the same
make
thing.
good cupcakes, you're right around the corner from cakes.
But if you know there's somebody that make good specialty cakes,
Okay.
and that's where you're supposed to go to, and they're the only one
I'm
in
sure
that
you have
city.
like
So
I'm sure you have at
basically
least 3 people. Like, okay, when you go to like, okay, you make the best cake. If you don't come through,
Yeah,
if,
you gotta
what
have
if
a
you're not
backup plan.
available
You don't have a
for
backup
like
plan?
my actual occasion, like my wedding?
See,
cake?
y'all are city kids.
See, basically, there's
this
a
is
hole
not-
in the
I'm
industry.
a country boy,
What?
but it's like I understand there are other options. There's
There's
not
but
just
there's, that's what I'm trying to get you to understand.
It's
There's
not
not
that
always
one.
other options.
There are other options.
Yeah.
There
Not
will- there-
always.
It will always be other options.
No.
I'm probably not going to have cake. I
Or you
might
could
have
bake
cupcakes,
your own cake.
or I could bake my own cake.
No, if
like
I want a cake, I mean, I want a cake.
you want to buy a cake
Because
from
at the-
someone
oh,
that you
but
heard.
think about
had
it
Okay,
this
well,
way.
I would have to buy one because I can't make one.
Oh, no,
so
no,
I would
no.
have to
But
buy
backpedal.
Let's
Because
go.
it is far past the date of this woman's party, and I'm pretty sure she ain't get that cake. So what did she do? She probably didn't get the cake.
one. Yeah, but we're not talking about the fact that she had to
We're
find
talking
an
about the
alternate
fact
route.
that
But
she.
the fact that she had to get a new cake anyways means that she could have got another cake from somewhere
Yeah,
else.
but the premise of
Ricardo,
this
how do you feel
is
about this? Because I feel like this is very personal for you. How do you feel about it?
this.
I don't know. How is it? What do you think?
No, I
baker
want to have
should
the
do?
conversation because it's a business conversation, and
Okay.
again, it can lay the premise for other stuff. So it's not even about the cake anymore. It's about
The business.
it's the business aspect of it, of how much is too much leeway to give a business to say you can refuse service. It's very
But it's your business, right?
yeah, but the people you service, you can't dictate the people you service to. So for me, it's not. I'm not even really arguing the fact of as a cake. I'm arguing the fact of a protected class of people being refused and that exclusive right being given to a business because I feel like it's dangerous. Because again, I always look at minorities because it happens to us so quickly and we're not conscious of it and we go, oh, well, it's not a big deal. It is a big deal because LGBT people are pretty much a protected class of people. So when you start talking about protected classes of people, that's why this individual was able to get the civil rights people involved because we're all protected classes of people. So when you start giving businesses the right to refute protected classes of people, it gets very dangerous because then people will start saying, well, I have the exclusive right to say I don't have to serve you. And people who don't know any better, like us who don't typically read or know laws and stuff of that magnitude, will, get turned away from places that we shouldn't get turned away from. So it gets very, very dangerous. So that's why I'm passionate about it. It's not the premise of this case.
But I think
it's what can happen.
I think it comes down, though, to mindset, because I think you have a business law mindset. And sometimes, at least for me, I think there's not enough room at the barrier for me to even pick up an axe. So I'm not going to be the one to help breaking down barriers all the time. So I feel like sometimes I'm more like Darran, where I'm just like, you know what? I don't even have the energy to put all this energy into this. But then you have to be, I feel like those are the times when I'm not as, like, woke or as conscious, where I'm like, you know what? I guess you shouldn't say somebody else will deal with that, but...
Well, let me ask y'all a question. What kind of shows do y'all watch on TV?
Oh, I watch
I'm
a
going to
lot
punch y'all in the
of
face.
television.
If the first thing that comes out of your mouth is Love and Hip Hop, I'm going to punch you in the face.
Oh, well, we were talking about Love and Hip Hop.
We were talking about it, but I do watch Love and Hip Hop.
How to Get Away with Murder.
How to Get Away with Murder. I watched the originals, Vampire Diaries.
Oh, my Darran.
See, I knew that's why we bonded right there. The original. How did you feel about the finale?
The originals is better than Vampire Diaries,
That's
which is
what
the first
I
show that's had a
said.
spin-off that is better than its original.
Okay, stay focused, people. Stay focused.
But anyways, yeah, I love docuseries, actually. I like a lot of crime shows, like a lot of criminal docuseries. Okay, we can't hear you. But
we can't hear you, but he said something about the Vampire Diaries.
He said
or
the original.
something.
He said we're not going to sit here and let us say that the originals is better than Vampire Diaries.
What?
And it is.
I mean, my thing is
the best
Vampire Diaries
character.
was cool, but I was just like, okay.
No,
okay,
Vampire
point.
Diaries
That's nobody cares.
Okay.
I
So those are
asked
the
that for a
shows
reason. Nobody
Those
cares.
are the shows we like to watch.
All right, so let's look at Scandal.
Okay.
Whenever they go to cases and stuff, you see them in the courtrooms and they're citing stuff, or actually, How to Get Away with Murder is better.
Okay.
Because they're always citing
love
stuff.
How to
When
Get
they
Away
went
with
to the final episode, the crossover episode,
Spoiler
where
alert.
they were trying to.
Oh, no,
those
it
shows
already
are
happened.
gone.
It already happened. It already happened.
Scandal's gone,
Yes.
and How to Get Away with Murder is going into like its 5th season. There's no spoiler alert.
Yeah, it's good.
already
It's good.
happened.
It's good. It's already happened.
You're ridiculous.
Wait, for
I'm trying to
class
think what
action.
happened.
For
Okay,
class
so in
action.
the crossover episode, they made reference to they were trying to build a case with the guy, and it was what's the guy? In How to Get Away with Murder, the guy that Annalise is always with, the detective, Nate.
Mm-hmm.
There was a case involving Nate's father, and it ended up being a class action lawsuit. With, okay, any event. All right, so we have a caller. So we're going to segue to the caller. Caller, you're on the air on the Leadership Blend with Ricardo, Starr, and Darran. What's your question or comment?
All right, you're on.
Oh, hi. I was calling to talk about the cake guy.
Okay, what's your thought or a comment?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, I don't think she could hear us.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
I was calling to talk about the cake guy.
Okay, what's your thought or comment?
Go ahead, ma'am.
You want me to just talk about it?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay. Well, I was just stating my opinion. I was just saying that he can't turn down business. Well, he can because it's his place of business, but I feel like we live in a day and age of social media. So one bad review could just, mess up all his business and all his money. So I think that it's stupid, but I mean, to each his own.
I mean, that's valid. But I think partially, too, especially because social media and Yelp and all those reviews can make or break you, it kind of proves his point that he's not doing it as like a malicious or business standpoint because he's willing to risk business for his religion. Wouldn't be me, but I guess in his case, that could be even a justification for it.
Well, but it's two-sided, though, because remember, he's been in litigation since 2012,
Yeah.
and his business is still open, and we're in 2018. So for every person that disagrees, there's going to be one or two people that agree, which would segue you to the whole Trump thing, because people are like, well, how is Trump still doing what he does? Well, for every person that does not believe in Trump, there are 2 or 3 people that believe in what he's doing.
But I think probably with that case, it's kind of like a Chick-fil-A sort of situation where you also have to think about how many people that probably buy from him that don't fall within those categories of people that he excludes. So it doesn't even matter to them. It may not even be a conversation of I'm for what he's doing or I agree with him, because I mean, Chick-fil-A has its views and it's whatever, but I still love me a chicken biscuit. And it's not because I'm for their views, but it's because it doesn't affect me. And that's like my privilege, and I can recognize that. But I think it's not so much as the people that are eating there are promoting his views, but it's like, this ain't got nothing to do with me, so they don't even really need to think about that when they go there and order their delicious cakes or whatever they are.
Back to cakes.
I mean, again, it's a toss-up, but again, when it comes to business, and with this particular case, this guy has been in litigation since 2012, and his business is still going. So, like you said, it's not a matter. The people that are supporting his business are clearly not the people that are being discriminated against. Yeah. So it's just kind of like what Darran said, what I'm fussing with him now about, well, I'll just go someplace else. Well, everybody else is kind of like, well, this doesn't affect me, so I don't care. So it is what it is. I'm going to keep doing what I do.
Yeah.
All right, so.
I have a topic.
All right, go ahead.
Have you guys seen any movies lately?
Colorado
any
State
weekend?
University just sent me something.
No way.
So, that is so random. Like, so random.
I'm concerned.
Okay.
Anyways, have you guys seen any of the new movies? Crazy Rich Asians just came out.
What is that about?
It's about, I don't know if you know any Crazy Rich Asians, but all the Asian people that I go to school with are like ridiculously crazy rich. And so I really enjoyed this movie because it helped me see
it's out
what
already?
they're like. Yeah, and it was so good.
And it came out this weekend.
It was
and apparently
surprising.
it made like 34
million. Yeah.
It was and for that kind of movie, it was a blockbuster for that kind of movie.
Well, I was concerned too because I honestly, I guess because I'm a millennial, I didn't want to be in any way problematic or I didn't know what the movie was really about. Like, is this for me to be sitting in here laughing? Like, is this going to make me like a bad person?
How did it make you feel?
It was fine. It wasn't in that sense. It didn't make me feel uncomfortable for laughing at stuff, but it was really well done. Like, I'll give them their kudos. It was an all Asian cast. They were all fun, like so funny. Like, they did a really good job. Like, I'll give them that. But I also saw Black Klansman. And I don't know if y'all seen that or saw anything about that.
Spike Lee is from my generation. Well, he's before me, but my generation, we grew up on Spike Lee movies. Unless I'm in a political rile me up, I need to be socially woke up. I can't
Yes.
I can't see a Spike Lee movie.
No, that's true, and I wish I'd known that because I went and I was not in the mindset for me to walk out of there being upset with everybody in the world.
Yeah, that
so I was just.
It did that to you?
That's a Spike Lee movie.
I can't watch a lot of like pro-black movies unless I'm in the mindset because I'm gonna be angry when I walk out of there, and I'm gonna be angry for like a week. I'm gonna be angry for a while. So the movie was really good, and I will give them their kudos and their props. They showed both sides of the spectrum. Like, it was like the KKK and Black Panthers, and I didn't think.
Oh, that's what the movie's about?
Yeah, I didn't know they were gonna do
Black
that.
Panther,
So it was like very like strong-minded KKK like preaching, and I was like, whoa, that was a lot. But also on the same end of Black Panthers, which is something that I had never really seen a lot of. So I really do like how they collaborated the both of those, and it wasn't just KKK the whole time.
Yeah.
So that was really good, but it also was like intense, and you have to like. I didn't want to think. I didn't want to have to be thinking about things when I was at the movie.
Well, you have to remember, Spike Lee, in my day, was one of the most prolific writers and screen writers.
The writing was great.
In my day. So we looked to Spike Lee when, we were trying to be socially conscious or be aware of what's going on. We looked to Spike Lee, John Singleton. Those boys were making those kind of movies to make us what you guys would call socially awake. That's what they used to do to us. So I knew when I saw his name, I was like, okay, this is going to be an intense movie, and if I'm not in the mood, I better not go because that's what he does.
Yeah.
That's who he is what he does. I don't know if have y'all ever seen a Spike Lee movie?
No. A Spike Lee joint?
Yeah, that's what Spike Lee
I've
joined.
seen School Days.
I've only seen.
Do you know what the premise of School Days was? Outside of just being a great movie. No, you don't. See, that's the kind
it
of.
was to show us what a real HBCU was, right? Wasn't it?
Well, yeah, it was that, but it was also the colorism that was involved because you have that. I don't think they called them their real names, but in essence, it was the AKAs, the Deltas, and the Deltas were darker,
Oh, I've seen
and
Do
the
the Right
AKs
Thing.
were light skinned. So you had Jasmine got them on this side, and you had the darker girls on this side.
And what were they pretty much like the alphas or something? Or were they like what it's supposed to be?
Well, it was supposed to be in theory, in
theory,
ideology, it was AKAs versus like Deltas or Zetas
Yeah.
because in the old days, apparently AKAs and I hope I don't get slaughtered by my friends. They used to do what was called a paper bag test, and if you were darker than a paper
Oh.
bag, you couldn't be an AKA.
Oh,
But that's
wow.
decades ago. But that was some of the premise for school days that was going on at HBCUs and stuff and things like that. So yeah.
But some of the girls were actually, they weren't even pledging at the time. They were just naturals. Like, they believed that the girls that were in the sororities did too much, wore too much makeup and too many weaves, and the other girls that didn't pledge at all, they were all natural, wearing their short hair. But it was the same premise still, though. I understand what you're saying, but and by the way, School Days had the best soundtrack out of all the Spike Lee joints. I just want to throw that
It
out.
was a
Kinda
really good
just
movie.
like Kanye's.
Well, I mean,
I'm
but
gonna let you
again,
finish, but-
he was that writer. So you had School Days, you had Crooklyn, showing the family in the hood in essence. Do the Right Thing. There was so many things.
Love
but
and Basketball?
No, I don't think that was his. But
Love and basketball.
yeah, no.
They killed Radio Raheem.
So I mean, to see him come back up, but again, in my day there were so many safeguards. So you had in music, you had Public Enemy who was speaking out about the heinouses that was going on in communities. NWA, protecting the music aspect. Then you get to TV. You got Spike Lee doing what he does. At that time, Bill Cosby doing what he does.
We know
So
what he was
there were
doing.
so many. We're not even going to go there about Bill Cosby because we're going to have a whole other conversation y'all ain't ready to have with me.
You're right.
So, I mean, in my day, there were so many safeguards that I'm worried that I just don't see now. I'm not seeing those same safeguards in the music, in television, so on and so forth. Not to say they're not there. I'm not seeing them. But again, you're up against the fight. The hard thing about this is you're up against technology. And you're up against, and this is the fear that people had when the internet became popular. It was like, how do we control the internet? If you're telling me that information come from any place at any time, how do we filter internet? And everybody, oh, don't worry about it. We need it. We got to have it. And we did. But now we sit in those, I don't want to say regrets. We sit in those worries that people had when the internet came out. How do we censor the internet? How do we filter what these kids are seeing and what these kids are hearing? Again, in the old days, you had TV. You couldn't see an X-rated movie either. You had to go buy it from a separate store, or you had to have the money to buy it on pay-per-view, which usually had to be approved by a parent. You couldn't see certain content until after 12 o'clock. Now it's the middle of the day, and I can go watch Rick and Morty, where it's a cartoon where they're dropping the F-bomb every 2 minutes.
Okay.
Like,
I love that show.
it's I love it too, but I would never
Yeah.
let the twins watch it because it's ridiculous. Even one of my other favorite cartoons, Steven Universe,
Oh my gosh.
I
Girl,
adore.
where are we at right now?
I-
These are my shows.
I love
Stars
Steven
linking
Universe.
with everybody.
Oh my gosh.
I love Steven, but look at the
Steven Universe
premise
is
of
great.
Steven Universe.
Yeah.
It's become
Also,
more.
Cartoon Network is really not
Yeah,
for
I
children
mean, and
anymore.
it's
That's a
not.
whole.
But I don't
nother-
think
not.
Steven Universe is Adult Swim because
It's
they
not,
usually
it's
put the
not.
bad ones in Adult Swim.
Well-
not that it's bad, but
well,
they
Rick
usually
and
put
Morty
those
is
in
adult-
Adult
yeah.
Swim. Yeah, Rick and Morty's in Adult Swim.
Yeah.
Steven Universe is not an Adult Swim.
It's not.
But they just had a wedding the other day between two female cartoon characters.
Well, also the whole fusion thing
Yeah.
that was very interesting because I was watching that with a kid and the kid was asking me like, "Oh, what is?" But because it's supposed to be like
Is it the
you're in a
same kid that
relationship.
you confused?
No, this is a whole nother kid.
Just
But
want to make sure.
I think it's supposed to be like a bond and like a very real, like basically a relationship. But all the characters are women. So that's another interesting concept. And Garnet is technically a transgender.
In theory,
because
yes.
she's two
Women that are combined.
It's a lot of heavy concepts, but I think the reason that they did it because the creator is part of the LGBTQ community. I think she was
Is
trying.
she?
Yeah,
she never talks about it because
Yeah.
she never really talks about it. So I didn't want to assume.
No, she is. Yeah, and I
Okay,
think
well, that
part of
makes sense.
why she structured it this way is because I think she was trying to, and don't quote me on this, I think she was trying to make a way to bring these topics to children without it being so intense, because the show does bring up a lot of conversations without it needing to be awkward and without it needing to be uncomfortable. And I think having a television show to use as an example for children is always a very good way to explain things. So I think she wanted it to be just a little bit because they do push the boundaries, air quotes, push the boundaries. But she pushes the boundaries, but I think she's doing it on purpose, and she does it just enough to where a kid can sit there and watch it, and you don't really need to be concerned about anything if it's stuff that you don't want to have a conversation with your kid about. But your kid, if they reach the age of like 7, 8, they might start asking you questions. So be ready.
Which, I mean, it caught me off guard because I don't even remember how I started watching it. But the show we're referring to is called Steven Universe. It's on Cartoon Network. It's written by Rebecca Sugar. And in the show, it's the premise of called the Crystal Gems, and you find that there was a galactic war, and the gems can fuse and turn into bigger gems, stronger gems. And as you're watching, because it caught me off guard, you're watching, you fall in love with the characters, and then you slowly start to realize, wait a minute, most of these characters, 95% of these characters are all women. Mm-hmm. And in order for them to fuse, they kind of have to do this little dance where they can join and become a stronger fuse that has more power, stronger, so on and so forth. And as the show progressed, I think it's in its 5th or 6th season, as the show went on, you discovered that Garnet, there are 4 main characters. There's Steven, Pearl, Amethyst, and Garnet. You discover later on that Garnet is a fusion of 2 smaller gems, Sapphire and Ruby,
who are in love with each other.
Who are in love and are both females, and they stay fused together because of the love they have between them.
I thought that was one person the whole time.
What? It is one. Yeah, exactly.
I thought it was like Garnet. I thought she was just one person.
Yeah, like
the whole entire time.
Yeah, no, she's 2. Well, you don't discover that until you get to Jailbreak. It's the end of season 2.
That's the best episode.
Yeah, that was.
To me. I love
that's
that
when
episode.
you really discover that Garnet is 2 smaller gems who are both female. But if you look at the dichotomy of it, Sapphire is a female, so she wears the dresses and has the hair.
And
Ruby is more of a more masculine female with the pants and just her aggression.
Even Garnet
and the
is
way
very
she is.
masculine, too.
Yeah, Garnet goes like.
But when I first started to notice this LGBTQ infusion into the show is with Pearl, because Pearl always had
her
this
love
huge
for
infatuation for Rose, and I didn't even really understand it until there was another little kid that I was watching who was like, why does she love Rose so much? And I was like, oh, like, I don't know. And she was like, she really loves her, like, loves, like, cries over her. And that's when I was like, oh, yeah, she's definitely in love with this Rose character. It's not like a maternal figure like they were trying to say at the beginning. This is her woman.
It's interesting. It's a very good cartoon. And like I said, before I caught on all this stuff, I just love the cartoon because the main character is Steven. And Steven is a version of his mom who died in a war between Homeworld and the Crystal Gems. And Steven becomes the son of Rose. And everybody loved Rose because she was the leader of the Crystal Gems who went against Homeworld and went against kind of the status quo. So Steven comes into a world not understanding the stuff his mom has done. So you spend all these seasons with the remaining Crystal Gems trying to explain to Steven not only the importance of his mom, but him discovering what he can do, being a remembrance of Rose Quartz. It's an amazing cartoon.
This is a great segue, because I have a question for the two of you guys, especially since you guys are a little older than me, and I'm trying to figure out if
Watch it.
No, a little. You heard I said a little, right? You could be 24 in this book, okay? Anyways, so basically in this show too, Steven has like a bit of a hard time as he's getting older, realizing that there's a lot of things about his mom that he doesn't know. So the ongoing conversation in my household is I kind of called my parents out because Haitian parents, Caribbean parents, a lot of that I've spoken to, are very big on making this line between parent and kid. Like my mom used to tell me all the time, like, I'm not your friend, I'm not this, I'm your parent. But now I'm getting older and I'm 20 years old, I'm about to be 21, and I'm like, I don't know who you are. And I'm at the phase where I kind of want to, like, me and my mom are very close. We talk like all day, every day, and I'm starting to tell her a little bit more about myself, like what's going on in my life. And I'm taking more risks because this is happening in my life right now, and it's going to affect her actions towards me. Like, if I tell her, like, oh, I'm talking to this boy, whatever, every time I leave the house, she's going to be like, oh, are you going to go see da-da-da? Are you going to go see da-da-da?
Right.
But I'm asking, and I brought it up to her and my dad, and I was like, I don't know anything about you guys. Like, it's like you came out of the womb as my parents. Like, I don't know anything about your childhood. And I understand that in Haiti, it's a very different culture. Their parents are very strict. They didn't even go out. But they moved to New York when they were 18. So I know I was like, you mean to tell me you're 52 years old? I'm sorry, Mama. I was like,
Mama, I did not tell her to say that. That has nothing to do with me. That is all your daughter.
Okay, well, 50
And you know I've talked to your dad. So, Dad, she's blindsiding me right now. I had no control over this.
Well, you mean to tell me that you're 50-something years old and you have never done anything in your life that you weren't supposed to do? And she's very like, I think what has upset me, because my dad was very forthcoming, and he was like, the reason I didn't tell you is because I know you're going to judge me. Like, I was wild. But he started to tell me a lot about himself, and like, yeah, it is wild, but at least I know. And I told her, I was like, I hate that I have to wait till I'm 30 or 40 years old to hear stuff that I wish I heard when I was 18. But at the same time, I understand that if it's so wild that she's like lying to my face and telling me that none of this stuff ever happened, it's like, I get that there's probably an uncomfortableness, like, to tell your kids, like, about your childhood. But do you think that that's like justified? Like, I don't know. I feel like there's a time, like we were saying before, there's a time when you want to have a conversation with your kids about things. But I feel
the birds
like
and the bees is what they talk about first, right?
That's just.
is that I never
sexual
really
stuff.
had that conversation.
I never
I
had
didn't
that
either.
conversation.
I didn't want it.
I think
My mom
nowadays
tried to.
parents, I don't know. I just learned all that from like being in
TV,
school and all that
everything,
type of stuff.
which is its own
Yeah, it is.
conversation. But yeah.
I mean, but you get into generations. So with my generation, which is between X and Y, we didn't need the Y. If you said it and you're my parent, that's what it was. So
Right.
I don't want to know your background because you probably can gross me out. I don't want to know your background. I don't want to know such and such. But again, you get into the deterioration of family. So what you didn't tell me, Aunt Deborah's going to tell me. So a lot of stuff that I knew, Aunt Deborah told me, because when something happened and you were disciplining me, Aunt Deborah was there in the corner going, yeah, but you know your mom did that too, so that's why she's saying that, because she went through that
learned
and she
from
didn't
it.
Right, she
exactly.
learned from it.
So it's kind of it's like with me with y'all. There are certain things that I'm going to steer y'all away from because I've already been down those roads. Either I've seen people do it,
Yeah.
and although it's a different season, there's nothing new. So you doing this is going to yield you the same results because I've tried it, she's tried it, they've tried it. It's going to yield you the same unfruitful results. So I want you to listen to me because that's why you made me your mentor. You chose to be under my tutelage. And I don't necessarily want to go into the details because when we start dissecting stuff, you may find something else that will inspire you to
Yeah.
try to do it anyway.
Yeah.
When I'm telling you, it's not going to be fruitful because I've already done it. I've seen my friends do it. So it's kind of like with my parents. But I cringe whenever I'm in public and I see kids being disrespectful to their parents. I am almost 40 years old, and I missed and said hell in front of my mom the other day, and she flipped.
Really?
Because I've never cursed in front of my parents. I don't really curse like that anyway. But it's a respect thing. I've never cursed in front of my parents. And even after I'm over 40, I'm not cursing in front of my parents because that's the level of respect that we
Yeah.
were taught in my day. Nowadays, again, but you get into ages. So
Yeah.
little Ty Kim is 6, but his mom's only 22.
Yeah.
So by the time he turns, 25, his mom is only going to be, she's not that far along
Yeah.
ahead of him. So her maturity age is not going to be that much higher than his. So she's going to feel like he's a friend or she wants to have that
Yeah.
relationship with him because she's not that much older than him.
Yeah.
So
My mama didn't play that. Like she was just like, well, I had an aunt, so it was kind of crazy because my mom and aunt are like day and night.
yeah, mine are
Skin
too.
color, and like everything. Like they're two different people, came from the same parent, both. But my auntie, she was the nice one. She's the one that let you get away with stuff. You don't feel like going to school? It's okay. We'll call. She would literally be like a friend. So I was like, okay, you the fun
fun
mom. And I always wonder why my mom was the fun one. She's just like, I'm not your friend. I'm your mother. You're gonna respect me before you do anything else. So it's like back then when I was like, 8, 10 or whatever, I didn't realize why my mom was the mean mom. But it's like now that I'm older,
Yeah.
I'm the way I am because of the respect I have for her.
Yeah.
Like she structured me to be independent and how to do so or whatever. So if I have a problem, I can talk to her now because now we're at that level. She's installed in me maturity, like how to communicate with people, how to be respectful towards your peers and whatsoever. So that's something I guess your parents like. We don't want to talk to you about this not because we don't want to talk to you, but because I guess they were trying to establish a level of respect first.
No,
and if
it's
you had
not,
questions,
I don't think
then
it's respect though, because
did you ever ask them like, "Hey, mom, so I'm going." Like, how did you guys have that first talk about?
So we sat down at dinner. Let me say this part. I don't think that it's about respect because even though I would consider myself and they all would consider me a rebel because I talk out a little bit more than most Haitian kids
No.
would be.
I would
Okay.
never guess that.
But anyways, I really think it's an image thing because Haitian women especially and my aunts, they're all like this. Like they will put up a whole facade as long as it makes them look good. Like, they're very big on, like, we need to look good. And they were, like, wealthy when they lived in Haiti. So they kind of have this bougie mentality on top of it of, like, oh, I need to look good. And even to my kid. And I think I was a little hurt because I'm like, that shouldn't apply to me. Like, I'm your kid as well. And I understand, like, it could be an age thing or whatever, but now I'm like, okay, I'm about to be 21 and I'm asking you these things, and I wish, because I'm comfortable enough to talk to my mom about what I'm doing at 21 years old, that I would hope you could tell me something about when you were 20 years ago, 30 years ago, you know?
Yeah, but does it change the narrative? If they had divulged this information now, does it change your narrative? You're already, in essence, who you're going to be.
No, but I wish that I knew, I wish where I knew my characteristics came from. Like, that's what I was telling them. I was like, there's a lot of things on top of that I went through. Like you were saying, like, so many things I went through that I wish I could be like, oh, my mom went through this and this is how she dealt with it. Because, yes, you're my mentor and you're telling me, like, okay, I'm telling you shouldn't do this because I did it. But in this situation, it's not like I'm telling you not to do this because I'm doing it. It's as if she's saying, I never did any of that stuff, but I'm telling you not to do it.
Do you see yourself in your parents? Like, which one do you relate to the most, and like their actions, how they do them?
Probably my dad.
So,
but I know more about my dad. I don't know. I mean, a lot of people tell me I'm a lot like how my mom was.
Well, you say a lot of people. Are we talking about
family members?
Does your mom have siblings?
Yeah.
How close are you to her siblings?
Close, but my aunt is exactly me and my cousin are the one that came to this realization that we don't know them, because my aunt is exactly like my mom. We don't know anything about both of them. And
when you say you don't know them, what do you mean? Like,
we don't know anything about their childhood. Like, we know
because I don't know nothing about my parents' childhood. I just
I don't either. I don't really care to know.
It's like
10 stories that they have on repeat. And
wait, what about your grandparents?
I brought this up to my grandmother, and then I realized as I was telling her that I don't know crap about her either. And I was like, Grandma, how about you tell me about yourself?
So what do you want to know about them?
I just want to know stories. That's the thing. I don't need to know big, wild stories. You don't need to have done anything crazy. But just like, what did you do when you were, like, what school did you go to? Who is your best friend when you were this age? What,
I knew that
what
stuff.
job
Yeah,
did you
people, I do know that kind of stuff.
Yeah, like, what
Wait,
job
so y'all
did
don't
you
have,
do?
like, well, see,
I don't know. Yeah, just
photo albums.
I don't know.
Okay, yeah, we'll go
Pictures.
through photo albums and they'll be like, vague. It's like from 18 to now, I don't know nothing. But from younger than that, okay, I'll give them 21 to now. I don't know anything. And my parents knew each other when they were younger. When they were like 16, they met. And I really just know little stories about that in between time.
I feel like they'll tell you if you're just like, Mom, I just really want to know.
But I have. And then instead of her telling me, it's like I never did anything. We didn't do anything. We never went out. And I was like, you were 21, living in New York by yourself.
Maybe it's the approach.
But I didn't.
No, I don't think it's that.
I think she just don't want me to know.
No, I don't think it's that either. I think there's a matter of maybe some unresolved issues or stuff that she still, at her age, is still either doesn't want to get into, or something will have to happen to put it in motion for it to come out. So I
feel
would
like
say
there's one story, and if she tells that story, it's gonna like flow after, because I feel like it's maybe like an uncomfortableness, like, oh, I don't want to talk about that part of my life or part of my story. And then once she feels, or if she does feel comfortable enough to tell me, I guess, the biggest story of that, then she'll start to tell me the rest. But now I'm kind of at the point where I'm like, I don't even want to know.
Well, I think that's the best place for you to be, because it probably means there's a story there that either they don't want to talk about, or it's not ready to share. Because in a nutshell, my family is going through a hard transition. We discovered my dad has outside kids, and we got to meet them.
You just discovered that?
Yeah,
but
we just discovered that in
the
2010.
same happened to me as well.
My dad
like
told us
last
when we
year.
were little.
No, my dad didn't tell us. We found out at
See,
20
Haitian parents
in
too,
2010.
they don't talk. They don't have conversations about things.
But that's just not limited to that. That's African American families in general. We're not communicators when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Well, it was like my sister was calling this kid to come over and have dinner, and that's when someone felt the need to have a conversation with me, like, oh, you have a brother who's not a part of this. And I'm like, oh, I already knew, because I overheard your conversations when I was 9 years old, but no one ever said anything about it to me. So I feel like that is just the way that I approached it is I said, because they were getting mad about how my dad was saying, oh, I don't know anything about what you do. I don't know who you talk to. I don't know. Da, 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 da.
Your dad said all this.
Yes. And so I was like, you guys love to be upset that you don't know your kids, but why do you feel like your kid will feel comfortable enough to tell you the intimacies and intricacies of their life when they don't know anything about you? Like, why do you think that I would be so
in
willing?
general, like, that's not a Haitian thing.
Yeah, that's not a Haitian
I
thing.
mean,
That's
I'm
just
sure
that's a
that's-
African American family thing.
But so
Yeah.
I was just, that's why I was upset, because I was like, you want to know all this stuff about me, but I don't even know if you left the right
Well,
hand.
I will tell you as another African American, you might as well drop it because they're not going to talk about it until they're good and
Yeah,
ready,
exactly.
and just don't
Well,
push
my
it.
daddy is giving me all the tea. My dad is giving me
Give me all the
the
tea.
Well, your dad, like I said, I've only met him cyberly, and he had made no qualms
Yeah,
about it. But we're going to go ahead and take our second break, and we'll be back on the Leadership Blend with your host, Ricardo D. Rice. Hey, everybody, it's Ricardo D. Rice from the Leadership Blend, where we're simplifying your leadership.
You may think that it's over, that your life is done. The best oh my. Is yet to come. Don't sweat the challenge. Your battle's already won. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's yet to come. Listen, y'all. See, God writes the end before the story begins. Oh, he told me to tell you the best is yet to come. As the author of your faith, he wrote a provision for you to win. You're a winner, you're a winner, you're a winner. Yeah. You ain't seen your best days yet. You ain't seen your best days yet. You ain't seen your best days yet. I don't care what people told you, you ain't seen no. You ain't seen your best days. Oh, well, stay in the faith, my sister. You ain't seen your best days yet. Stay in the word, my brother, my brother, my brother, my brother. Trust in no one. Would you deposit this word in your heart? You ain't seen your best days yet. No, 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 it's not too late for you to start. I want to encourage you. I just want to encourage you. You ain't seen your best day yet. You ain't seen your best days yet. Get away from negative words. Get away from negative people. Hear God speak to you. The best. The best. The best. Do you hear me? Oh, no. Oh, you're gonna run and not be weary. You're gonna walk and not faint. Oh, the best is on the way. I see you, eagle. I see you flying high. Ooh, you ain't seen nothing. You ain't seen nothing. You ain't seen nothing. I know you may think that you have. But God told me to tell you, you gotta keep on fighting. Keep on praying. You ain't seen nothing yet. No, 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 no. You ain't seen your best days yet. It's greater. It's stronger. It's gonna come. you, Jesus. It's yet.
Greater is the ending of a thing than is me.
I know, yeah. It's yet to come.
Hey everybody, it's Ricardo D. Rice from the Leadership Blend, airing every Monday from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. on IBNX Radio Talk in. All right, welcome to this Monday edition of the Leadership Blend with the host Ricardo D. Rice and my correspondents.
Darren.
Star.
All right, so when we left, we were talking about African American family dynamics, but like I told, I'm not getting into that because I'm not having to deal with your father later on. So I said my best advice on that is to leave that be, because parents, especially African American parents, will tell you stuff when they're good and ready. And if your aunts and uncles won't tell you, there's probably a reason.
Oh, no. My aunts and uncles, they let me know the tea. My grandma let me know the tea. It's just her.
Okay, well, that should be enough. They done painted a picture for you. What
But
else
I
you
want
want?
to hear it from the horse's mouth.
Okay, well, maybe later on you
She'll
hear.
tell you one day.
We'll wait on it, I guess.
All right, so moving back into current topics. This one brought me a little bit of joy, even though it does not apply to me, but it did bring me a little bit of joy. So apparently, NYU medical schools planned free tuition for those studying to become doctors.
You better believe the first thing my parents said was, "So you're going to medical school now, huh?"
Shoot, if I wasn't this age, I'd be going to medical school. All right, so in order to handle the high cost of pursuing a career in medicine, NYU's medical school has begun offering full scholarships to all current and future students hoping to receive a doctorate in medicine. They are only top 10. They are one of the top 10 ranked medical schools to offer this opportunity. The goal is to wipe all tuition from students in order to fully pursue their education. This new opportunity covers $55,000 worth of annual tuition. Now, even though that covers the tuition, it's not covering the housing and stuff.
Yeah.
So students are still responsible for $29,000, which is room, board,
their
and
tuition's
various
80K
living
now.
expenses.
It's $80K a year at this point. If it's not $80K yet, it's going to be next year. It's going up. It was $70,000 when I tried to apply to school there.
Yeah, I'm saying, like, that's a drop in the bucket for people who are trying to become medical school. But this is part of an ongoing problem, and I'm sure this is going to become some kind of trend moving forward for people in critical need areas, medicine, engineers, those kind of critical need areas, especially for minorities. This is probably, hopefully, this will become the trend.
Well, don't you think they're just going to make the MCAT like a lot harder now?
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah,
That's what I was
because they
thinking.
did
Because
the-
now it's like anybody can come here and get their doctorate.
Yeah,
they
but I
made
mean,
the
most people-
LSAT super hard because now too many people are lawyers, and now the LSAT is like super hard. I mean, they're trying to make it so super hard to pass, so they don't have too many lawyers now, I guess.
Or
No.
just know anybody
And
can come up in here.
again,
No.
where do y'all come up with this stuff
No,
at?
I was saying
Wait,
like,
what
they
do you
probably
mean?
did this so like anybody just couldn't become a lawyer. Like you
I
gotta
mean,
know your
nobody.
stuff.
First of all, you have to have a desire to want to be a doctor to go to actually pass the MCAT and actually
Some
get
people do,
into
they gotta be.
into medical school.
Well,
So there's
but
not a
if-
line.
But colleges, but universities and college is a business. They don't really care about us. I mean, maybe. I don't know. I'm not gonna bash
Well, now
anyone,
but then you
it's
get
a
into
business.
you get into two sides of that coin. So you get into for-profit schools, which are actually just businesses, and students are really just money. Or you get into state-funded schools that have criteria and rubrics by which they have to make sure kids are educated at a certain level and are subject to the scrutiny of government. Two different ball games. Now, when you make that comment, yes, I think about for-profit schools, the Argosies, the Art Institutes, the
Mine's-
University of Phoenixes. Not that they're bad schools, but I don't think of those schools until you get into higher education. So I would not prescribe a kid going to. Okay, because I'm getting looks because some of the kids that are in the program go to AI. I actually like Art Institute. I will not knock them. But when you get into these kinds of schools, that's when you start getting to the cost of undergrad at these schools. Because the cost of undergrad at a lot of these for-profit schools is ridiculous. When I went to
is $75,000 just for undergrad, $75,000 a year, and I don't even think that that's including housing. I really don't.
It does not. And when I went to, because I got my master's from AIU, and when I looked at the kids that were in the undergraduate program, I was like, you're paying almost double what I pay, and you're getting less. This isn't even the college experience. Like, there's no Greek life, there's no housing, you're not getting the bang for your buck.
Yeah.
And then when you get out of school, depending on the area that you want to go into, some of these schools are frowned upon because it's like, oh, you went to this school.
a
Oh,
name,
okay, that
yeah.
means you just paid to go there. and it becomes a whole accreditation debacle. But then you can also segue and have that same argument about HBCUs. Because HBCUs, a lot of them double your student loans and decrease your financial aid. That was the reason I didn't go to. I was accepted to some prominent HBCUs, but I looked past the name and looked at the financial aid package they gave me. It was like,
They
are you
don't
kidding
give
me
a
right
lot of
now?
money. I can't use the black card at an HBCU anymore.
I'm like, are you serious right now?
And I know a white girl there that has full ride because she can use her white card now. I didn't know there was one, but she's using it.
I mean, at the end of the day,
Because she is a minority at the school, so she can
what,
say,
at HBCU?
Yeah, she goes to Howard. I know this white girl that goes to Howard, and she's on a full ride.
And this is where they went to Clark.
She's a minority.
Oh yeah, I mean it's the I don't want.
They
it's
have a lot of
it's
Middle
reversed.
Eastern students at Howard too, so they may even get that minority.
Well, I mean, but you have again when you and my friends are going to crucify me for this because they know how I feel about HBCUs. I understood why they were created, absolutely, but when you fast forward over the years, the work outside of preserving the history of these institutions, what have we built in the last 20-something years with these same institutions?
Yeah.
Right,
Because you're
right.
still riding off, oh, well, I go to Morehouse. Oh, well, in the heyday, that was great. But now you've passed a couple of generations. So people
And
are
now
going,
you're
that's
paying
great,
all that
but
money for just a name.
that
You got HBCU money? I don't, because they're so ridiculous.
is Clark Atlantic HBCU?
It is.
Yeah.
It's a private HBCU.
There's another HBCU down here that most people didn't know, but I can't remember.
Brown. It's probably Morris Brown.
Morris
or-
Brown.
Yeah, exactly.
There's
My issue came up with HBCUs. I'm from South Carolina, so my issue arose with HBCUs with what happened with South Carolina State University. HBCU, I don't think it's the oldest, but it's one of the oldest HBCUs in South Carolina, and it got so bad with the stealing of money that at that time the governor Nikki had to replace their whole board and appoint people to the board. That's how bad it got financially. Why is that necessary at HBCU when your job is to preserve the history and the
Yeah.
integrity of this institution? How do we get to that place where you're stealing from your own kids? How do we get there? And then you start seeing that same trend in other schools. I think Howard had that same issue as well with money being stolen. How does this happen at these institutions when you were created to preserve the integrity of these institutions? That's why they
Yeah.
were created.
You know what Howard did? I remember my freshman year, people had to go to other schools because they didn't have enough room. Like I guess, I don't want to say it, but the same way like a hotel would sell more rooms than they have, like sell more rooms than they have. Yeah, that's what they did. So there were so many people that were getting to school and didn't have anywhere to live and had to transfer. What? And you're not getting that $500 deposit back. I'll promise you that.
Oh, yeah,
Ours
I
was
mean-
$750.
Oh Lord,
Uh-huh.
that hurt me. That hurt my pockets. I haven't seen what 750.
Well, I
looks
mean,
like.
okay, so today you get to be the HBCU expert. So your
get what I can.
experience.
I had a great time at my Clark Atlantic University, the illustrious Clark Atlantic University. But it's what you make it. At
At
every
any
HBCU.
school.
That's at any school. It's
At
what
any
you make
school.
it. So the OGs, which are orientation guys, everybody has them.
Do
So
y'all really call them OGs?
OGs?
they're called OGs.
That's so urban. Okay.
Yeah, they're called OGs.
That's so urban. Okay.
And me and my friend, we every day, like we talk about it now, like they sell us this dream, like welcome to Clark Atlantic University. This is where Drumline was filmed. We have celebrities, come on campus all the time to film movies. Spike Lee's always here. Blah 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 blah. Like they sell you this dream, and they're just like, and you're thinking in your head, I'm going to come to school, I'm going to graduate, and I'm going to have a guaranteed job. Like
Yeah.
you're selling me this dream. They sold it to me.
Oh.
I took it. I took the dream. I took the dream. However, I made the dream what I wanted to make it. So it's just like, me transferring in, well, not even transferring in, but me coming in as a junior because I already went to community college and for my 2 years.
Oh, you did that? I didn't know that. What school did you go to?
I went to Hines Community College. Remember you saw it on my resume? You were just like, what is Hines Community College? You tried to come for me.
First of all, you trying to come for me right now?
No.
Do you know how many interviews I had to do to get the 17 of y'all that I have?
So, yeah, in Raymond, Mississippi, I'm from Jackson, Mississippi. In Raymond, Mississippi, I went to Hines Community College, and I got my associate's degree. So when I came to Clark in fall 2016, I came in as a junior. So I was like, okay, I have 2 years to make something of this.
Yeah.
And their logo is find a way to make one. And I found a way, and I made one. So I'm very appreciative of the experience that I got. But I can definitely say it's an HBCU experience. That was my first time dealing with financial aid. Like, I literally drove here by myself for like 5 hours or something. Luckily, I have family here. But I went to I went to housing because they told me where my room was. And she's like, oh, yeah, you can move in today. You have an outstanding balance. I was
Oh, I hate when
I was
they
like,
do
what?
that.
I was like, what does that really
Outstanding
mean?
balance is literally
Yeah.
like a knife.
I was-
Whenever
I
they
was
use
like,
that word,
I was like, I have my car is like filled with all kinds of stuff. Like, what am I supposed to do? And so I went to financial aid. They have no type of sympathy. I kid you not.
everywhere. I
will
think it's
forever
Yeah, I think that's
everywhere.
everywhere.
I will forever remember this.
I
So,
think they only hire people that hate
yes,
everyone
hate
that's
that
at the
job.
school.
Exactly. So it was this one, this kid and his mom. I don't know where they were from, and me and my friend were sitting there waiting to speak with an advisor in financial aid. And the lady was like, "Hey, ma'am, do you know how it's going to take?" And she was like, "How long is is it going to take for me to see somebody with my son? Because we got to get back on. I got to get back on my plane." And she literally said, "No, I do not, but I will actually want to please be patient." And she yelled this, and all I could see is just like, where am I? Like, how did I get in this situation? So it's memories like that and things like that, like only at an HBCU.
See, okay, whenever I tell people I go to school in DC, they're like, "Oh, Howard," and I'm like, no, I didn't even apply to one HBCU because I went to Catholic private school my entire life. I did not think I would be black enough. Like, I did not think that I would be able to hold my
Crazy
ground,
thing
know
is,
anything.
I didn't feel like I was.
Yeah.
Like, it's so crazy because some places I feel like I'm too black. Then you told HBCU, I'm like, okay. So I like to wear like gym shorts, like no clothes to class because I'm literally going to class for like 50 minutes and then I'm going back to my room. Then I got to go to work. Like, why would I dress up for you guys?
Okay.
I'm confused. Like,
Yeah.
is the celebrity in there or something? Like, I felt like I wasn't cultured enough, and that's why I want to go to an HBCU to get that culture. And I did get it. So it's like I'm appreciative of what I learned.
I mean, that was your objective. So I mean,
Right.
then yeah. But if
So-
your objective is to really,
go out here and hustle and grind.
See,
and
I
do
hang out
everything.
at Howard, and even still,
You don't feel
when I
black
walk
enough.
around, I'm like, oh yeah, no. I feel like they can tell. I feel like they can see that I
It's
really.
so dramatic. You know
Because
what?
Do you
I
like,
just.
do you like trap music?
I know I love trap music. At the end, okay, there are some times when I'm around white
didn't know
people
who
and not
they were.
super like pro black people, I can hold my ground. I can be, because I'm still from Atlanta, and sometimes the Atlanta girl comes out of me.
Okay.
But just overall, even my first year of college at my school, a predominantly white school, I felt like there was a lot of black kids at my school, and I conned myself because I thought it was going to be a black school because it was in DC, and it was not. But so when I got there was a lot of black students who are from predominantly black areas who felt so out of place by how many white students there were. And I was like, this is so many more black people than I've ever been around. Because it was like,
You had people
I
like
had
that at
2,000 people in my year, and I went to a school graduating class of 78 people. So, and I was one of 3 black kids in the class. So I feel like I was so overwhelmed by how many black people, and I've had a lot of great black professors. One of them, her name is Sybil, and she taught me everything that I didn't know already. Because I also grew up in a Haitian household, so I didn't learn black history. I don't know a lot of the stuff. I remember in one of my classes when I was in 3rd grade, I think it traumatized me a little bit because I remember it vividly. I was sitting in class, and we were learning about slavery. And being the only black kid in a white school, whenever you get in a history class and we're talking about slavery, it's the worst day of the year.
Oh yeah, because everybody's walking on eggshells and nobody really knows what to say.
One time this teacher straight up was like, Starr, do you have any stories or anything that you can like
I would be like,
tell
no,
us?
I do not.
I was like, my family's Haitian. I know as much as everyone in here knows. I'm learning.
I would be like, who's
with
filming?
them.
I'm getting punked. Like, where are the cameras? Where
I
are
probably
the
walked out. I'm like,
And it
yeah,
wasn't
we're not
until
doing
I was
this
in
today.
college that I looked back and realized all the microaggressions and racism that happened to me, that because I was the only black person and there was no one around to tell me like, hey, this is problematic, I thought it was just normal. When I went to school, I didn't even realize like people touching your hair and asking you if your hair was weave was as problematic as it was, because the little white boys would all the time be like, oh, can you feel this? Can you feel this when I pull it? And I should have been nuffing people in the jaw since day one, but
what would you say? You'd be just like,
I would laugh. I didn't know any better. Like, I was just like, oh, that's just what it is. Like, it's just normal. And then when I went to college, I really messed up that school because I went back and told every black girl that I was friends with, don't let them do this, don't let them, like, I taught them everything. And
Do
so
not
they
touch a
were
black girl's
popping
hair.
off on teachers and everyone, because the teachers would even say these things. I remember one time like a teacher was asking me like, oh, like, is that a weave? Like, can I touch it? Da, 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 da. And I was like, don't ever let them do this. Don't ever let them talk to you like this. And then they started popping off on teachers and students and all
So
that
you started
stuff.
a riot.
I definitely did, but you know what? They deserved it.
Oh my God.
Wow. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
I built a
Okay.
brand new school. But I didn't realize, it wasn't until I went to college and had to force myself to learn about like black culture and what it really meant to be black in America, because I was extremely sheltered and hidden from it, until I could come back and be like, wow, all of this, like I really was dealing with racism and I had no clue. But
Oh, I mean, I can appreciate the black experience. I just, because truth be told, I was
Sometimes
accepted to
too
Morehouse.
yeah,
And I was at Coastal Carolina in Myrtle Beach. And I really was like, you know what? I'm sick of living in South Carolina. My plan has always been to move to Atlanta. So I was like, you know what? If I go to Morehouse, I can go ahead and move to Atlanta and call it a day. But I always read. So when they sent me my financial aid package, I was like, wait. I see very little financial aid, and you have doubled my student loans. Why is that? And I was like, okay, there's no good answer. And then I didn't go. I stayed at Coastal, and I'm so glad I did. And then when I moved here, I saw where Morehouse is located. And I was like, this would have not worked for me.
They sold me because
saw
my
it for the
hotel
first
was
time
nice,
last week.
and I rode in the little hotel doing orientation. But
wait,
from
they
the
gave
hotel
you a
looked like-
hotel when they?
Well,
did it?
no. So
Oh.
like when you get accepted, you accept the acceptance, and then you go to like new student orientation.
Yeah, and
so my hotel was like in Midtown.
Oh.
So I rode the shuttle from Midtown to Clark. I don't know what route he took, but I did not see what I saw when I moved in. I was just like, okay. I was like, this can't be right. This is the wrong GPS. I was like, I didn't see this the last time I was here. And then he was like, you have arrived. I was like, Mama, what did I do?
Wow.
Like, what did however, like I said, it's one of the best experiences and lessons I've ever learned. It was a part of me growing and coming to Atlanta. So I don't regret it whatsoever. It's just.
But you shouldn't. I mean, again, you achieved what you wanted to achieve. For me, had I moved from, because I'm from the suburbs, I'm from rural South Carolina, so, you know, houses, all that good stuff.
Right.
Block parties, neighborhoods. Had I gotten here and arrived on campus, I would have been like, I'm going home, because this
Yeah.
is not
This
what
is
I
not-
want.
So,
This is
Yeah.
not for
why
me.
does every HBCU always end up in a rural area?
Because when they were,
I think it's the cheapest land.
no, I
possibly.
think it was because when they were built in places, they were built in the
community.
only place they could go,
Okay.
which was in those
Okay.
areas, because that's at that time those were black communities. I
Because
believe
Howard's
that's
the
the
same.
basis. Yeah,
the
Howard
same?
is the same too.
Howard is
Yes,
the
I
same.
was shocked when I went to see Howard.
Yeah.
Yeah, these again. You got to
Jackson State's
remember.
the same too.
Yeah, you got to remember when these institutions were built. When they were built, this is the only land they probably could get that either black people owned or was maybe given to them, something on that scale of magnitude.
Yeah.
So that's where they end up staying. And as to preserve the history of it, they never moved them, because it's like, okay, this is historic. This is where Morehouse was built and founded. We're going to leave it here, and we're just going to do the maintenance on it and keep it going for decades and eons and so on and so forth. I just think moving forward, as different people, as it changed hands, when you get new leadership, people have their own agendas.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like as they change, and again, this is a complete observation. I hope my friends don't kill me or crucify me. It's a complete observation, but it's as with business, when new leadership comes in, they do things their way. And I think that as time went on, in efforts to either probably preserve money coming in or preserve legacy, people made decisions. And those decisions probably had less and less to do with infrastructure and more to do with the politics of keeping money coming through the institution, or actually not even that, because a lot of those schools are private, keeping donors involved and so on and so forth. But then I think you have a bigger problem with HBCUs. I think you have a bigger problem because a lot of the alumni who will rep these schools don't give back to these schools.
And a lot of them think that they're better than other black people because they went to an
Well,
HBCU.
that's black culture, period. Like,
Yeah.
you
And
go
that
to
makes
class
me
and like,
so
"Oh, what
upset.
kind of
There was
shoes you
this
got
one
on?"
guy.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
there was this one guy who was on Twitter who was talking about how, like, oh, if you didn't go to an HBCU, then you can't even really consider yourself a real black person, and da-da-da. I was like, do you have HBCU money? Are you going to pay my tuition? Are you going to let me have a low enough, a high enough GPA to where I can get air conditioning in my dorm? And I'm not going to at the school, but
Morehouse
y'all
men
know
can
where
be
I
a
live,
Morehouse
so.
men can be a handful. I get it. I absolutely get why they're taught what they're taught. But when you get into the real world, that attitude and that air about
don't
you,
work.
it
it's
doesn't
not
work.
going to
It
be
doesn't
conducive
work.
for
Oh,
being successful.
finally. When,
And-
I know
and-
there
And
ain't
it's
no
like,
thing
who
like an
teach- who
HBCU
teaches you that, though?
education,
Like,
but
what?
Well,
like,
I think they do.
Your parents are supposed to, but then they're too busy working, and we have to pay the bills. Felicia's with her friends, and she has this attitude about herself I can't really tell her about because I'm at work, and it's just like now she's in college with the same attitude, and I'm still at work paying on her loans or whatever. So it's just like, who checks us at the door about, hey, you're beautiful, but this attitude is not going to work.
I think there are way too many people and groups and whatever that put that fuel under the fire for those people. I think there are more people who are out there telling these people like, yeah, you are hot stuff. Walk around like you're hot stuff. Let them know that you're hot stuff. Well, everybody's about the clout nowadays. They're all just a whole bunch of clout mongers. Just all it is.
Yeah, but you got to remember that in the time we live in, it's more about group think than individuality. So
it's all about capitalism and consumerism, but that's a whole nother conversation.
I guess freshman year, you have like 30 friends. Then by your senior year,
I mean,
you have a good 3.
I'm at 3, and you know what? It made for a cheap vacation. There's that.
I mean,
that's good. That's
good. When my friend Jeremy, who's going to be on the show in September, comes in, and he's like a college preparation expert, he brought up some very good points that I didn't even know you think about when you're doing your FAFSA. Because when you're doing your FAFSA, there's a criteria. FAFSA.
My cousin has been calling it FAFSA
I call it FAFSA.
No, because it's spelled FAFSA, so it's FAFSA.
She didn't find out until yesterday when I looked at her phone and said, "Why are you typing FAFSA? It's FAFSA."
Yeah, no, it's FAFSA. It's like
Did you know this,
FAFSA.
Hey, I used to think it was FAFSA as well.
Exactly.
Until I really went and looked at the words. I was like, oh,
well, you're
this
wrong.
is wrong.
No, you're not
You're
right.
wrong.
I accept this mistake. I accept it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, but when you're doing that process, it has I think it's called graduation rate. I never paid any attention to it, but if you get into it, it tells you the graduation rate of the school you're looking at. So if their graduation rate is only 30%, you might want to get another school.
It
what that
says
says
that on
is
that website. What's that website everybody uses? I forgot.
What's
that everyone does their college app. It's called college app. But.
Well, I mean, I saw, but I didn't know what it meant. So I was kind of like, okay, well, cool. No, what it's telling you is that 30% of the individuals that go into this institution are graduating. That is not high. That means that the bulk of the people that go to the school are not graduating. They go, but they're not graduating. Yeah. So that's something when you're doing that was a tidbit. When you're doing your FAFSA, you want to pay attention to the graduation rate, because if you're thinking about going to IBNX University and their graduation rate is 20%, that means that most of the students that are going there are typically not graduating. What difference does that make? That means that your chances of graduation are not extremely high going to this institution for whatever reason. Now, they don't really give you the criteria for what that is, but just know it's graded by agencies that have assimilated that this school only graduates 20% of the people that start in their school.
Well, you know what I learned, too, when I started, another good thing, at least that I like to know, is that if it's easy, like their retention rate of like how easy it is to get in, because UGA is super hard to get in, but it's so easy to stay in.
I love that school.
It's so
I thought
easy
about going there for
stay
grad
in.
school.
Really?
I took a tour.
It's so easy to get. I mean, it's super hard to get in. I mean, super hard, air quote. But it's also super easy to stay in. Like, it's very hard for you to like get kicked out. But Mercer is is a easier school to get into, but it's very hard to stay in. Like, they use the method of like weeding people out. So like, I know a lot of people who by their second year just can't keep up and have to leave. And so that's how they weed their people out, as opposed to, I guess, UGA tries to weed them out by who they let in to begin with.
Have you seen UGA? Like, you took a tour?
Yeah.
How'd you like it?
Athens is a really poor city. Like, the poverty is like.
Isn't that in Statesboro?
But it's a college town. No, it's in Athens.
Wait, what school we talking about?
UGA. You're talking about Mercer, but that's
no,
not even.
I'm thinking about Georgia Southern. Georgia Southern's in Statesboro.
Georgia Southern is a party school.
I don't know. That's all they can do because there's nothing around it. Like, unless they built it up. Statesboro is god awful.
Yeah.
No offense, no shade, but in my day, Statesboro was trees. And the only thing they had was Georgia Southern.
Yeah, I remember my sister went there. They didn't really have much to do. But yeah, they like partying, so I guess they have that.
That's all you had to do. So I mean, the campus is the nicest thing in the city. You're going to spend all your time.
But that's how it is with UGA. I mean, they have the little bars and stuff like close to the school. It's a real college town, but outside of that, it is so poor and so like poverty ridden. It's sad actually. Like, I don't enjoy going down there. But UGA is a nice school, and they have a really good law school. If you happen to be interested in that.
I mean, look. Again,
college is just, I'm ready to be out.
No, I'm telling you, it is not fun in the real world. I tell people,
be in the real world.
if I could have extended my undergraduate years, Listen, and I told y'all this. I think I told most of y'all this in the internship program. It's not even about the academics of going to a 4-year school, especially if you have the privilege of living on campus. It's about everything else that the school can offer you that a lot of times we do not take full advantage of. Had it not been for Coastal giving me the opportunity to work in the Office of Student Activities and Leadership, to be on the college judicial board, to start my own student
It's
organization.
all about making connections. You have to make connections.
It's more than academics, and that's why I tell people it makes a difference when you start applying for higher education, because then they want to know, what did you do outside of go to school? And a lot of people, they don't have anything to say. Well, I had a 4.0. That's cute. But Johnny over here has a 3.8, and Johnny was on judicial board. He worked for Office of Student Activities. He did all these things, and he still managed to keep a 3.0, which tells us that Johnny is well-rounded and ready to be in a doctoral program because he can multitask, versus Susie over here, who has a 4.0, but she did nothing but go to class and go home. Well, it's easy to keep a 4.0 when you don't have anything else diverting your attention. But Johnny over here has 5 things going on, and he still managed to keep a 3.8 GPA. So that's why I tell people that makes the difference between you being at a Ivy League school and you being at an okay school, because they look at you as a well-rounded individual, not just as a student.
That's why I be trying to tell people, like, you have to get involved, put a name out there for yourself, like get to know who the financial aid supervisor, advisor
Look here,
is, whatever.
I to this day remember my financial aid person, Miss Sherman, shouts out to Miss Sherman from Coastal Carolina University, because I made it my business to let her know who I was. So they got to a point where they used to do the need-based grant. And she sent me an email, said, okay, look, I know you need it. So it's $750 in your account for you. That's need-based. I know you need it. I got you. Because I got to know her.
And a lot of people think, like, college, like you said, like, just for going to class, getting those A's, getting that 4.0. That's cool in middle school and high school when you're trying to get to college. But college is a whole nother ballpark. It's not just, like you said, academics. It's about networking. That's all it is. One big networking thing. So you have to put yourself out there and get to know people. Like, I never know where you're going to be, but out of the 3,000 students on this campus, one of us is going to make it. So I need you to know my name just in case I need something from you later on, and I can help you out. Like, that's all it's about. So that's why I made it my mission when I went to Clark, because of my other school, I didn't get involved. I went to class, went home, like you said. But at Clark, I was like, you know what? I'm going to make a name for myself. I have 2 years to make a name for myself. And being tall did help.
I was about to say, you're like 7'2".
It did help, but it's just like I went there, I got involved.
Darren? Oh, that tall guy? Oh, I've seen
so
him.
I wasn't.
Well, actually, is that tall red guy?
Tall, most attractive guy, yes.
Oh,
okay, and on that note, we're going to take our last break, and we'll be back on the Leadership Blend with your host, Ricardo D. Rice.
Life comes at us fast. One thing that gives us comfort is knowing that someone is there when you need them. Well, at Pleasant Hills Insurance, that's our promise to our clients. Call 770-910-7460 today or visit our website at pleasanthillsinsurance.com for your free, no obligations quote on retirement and life insurance. Many of the large agencies have turned their back on the retired workforce. At Pleasant Hills Insurance, if others can't qualify you, very often we can. Pleasant Hills Insurance proudly provides options for preconditions. So call 770-910-7460 or visit pleasanthillsinsurance.com today for your free, no obligations quote on retirement and life insurance. Pleasant Hills Insurance, we're here when you need us.
Hey everybody, it's Ricardo D. Rice from the Leadership Blend, and you're listening to IBNX Radio. All right, we're back on this week's edition of the Leadership Blend with your host, Ricardo D. Rice, and my correspondents,
Darren Edwards
and Star Celestin.
All right, so we're in our last segment. So I'm actually, I'm going to do this because it's y'all. Because normally I would not. So I'm going to do this. So when we were on a break, and I'm only doing this because we talked about this last week, I think, and we were talking about Tiana Taylor.
Oh, goodness.
And my thing with that was I don't really know what she does. I think she's very talented, but I don't know what she does. And we got on it because it was from a branding standpoint. Because from a branding standpoint, I mean, you can have different areas of the brand, but there should be still one flagship thing that people know you for. And we were talking about like T.I. and Ludacris and all those boys. Yeah, they do other stuff, but they were branded as rappers first. So that's how most of us know them that don't know them personally. We know them as rappers who did other things. Great. You branded something, and then you spun off from it. With Tiana Taylor, I can't say I know what she does. And that's okay, but if you're trying to solidify something, it's going to be a little hard to solidify things you haven't grounded and built a foundation for. So apparently, she was on tour with Jeremiah. And for those that don't know, Jeremiah, we know him from. I'm saying for most people that don't know him, we only know him from the song "Birthday Sex," which was about 5 or 6 years ago. And then I heard a song, Ooh I think that's the name of it, which I actually liked.
Oh, yeah, that
Planes
was
with J. Cole, that's a great song.
But I don't know him outside of that. But apparently she was on tour with him, and she's leaving the tour and said that she will not be disrespected. And now she's doing free concerts for fans who could not get a ticket refund. So, yeah, thoughts.
Free concert.
Well, she's got to do something to save face because you dropping out of tour does not automatically mean they're going to give people back their tickets.
Money.
You go see Jeremiah.
Because the tour is still happening.
Yeah,
Exactly.
she left it mid-tour.
But they came to see Jeremiah, came to see her because she said free concert.
She was saying, what she said is she said there was, let me see her tweet because she was going in. She said,
I love Tiana, though.
Jeremiah, lazy, sneaky, jealous, conniving, selfish, lame, bleep, bleep. Don't ever try to play me, Petunia. They come to see me, then 80% of the room leaves after my set. So she was saying, they're here for me. And you really not doing anything. She says, I work my butt off every city, every night. You've done nothing this whole tour but act like a diva in your princess chair.
Well, she announced earlier that she would not perform any of the remaining dates on the tour, and adding that things may get violent between her and the Don't Tell 'Em singer if she stays. And she said, I've been extremely mistreated on this tour, so on that note, I will no longer, no in caps, no longer continue to stay on the Later Than Night tour.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of people in these comments are talking about how they really did come to see her, and she put in a lot of work, like even outside of the show, like trying to
I
hype
agree.
people
I would come
up.
see Tiana versus Jeremiah. I'm
Oh,
just
well,
saying.
yeah, I'm not
Like-
going to deny
like
that.
hands
If I'm
down.
going to be there at all, it's going to be for her.
Tiana, exactly.
But
Just like what, you know,
I just may not
was
be
going to
there.
say something's going to be disrespectful. Never mind. But yeah, I would come see Tiana.
I mean, honestly, I'm not going to pay to see either one of them. I don't,
yeah,
I
exactly.
wouldn't-
It's
honestly
only
wouldn't
if I
pay
was there. But I
money.
think what happened is before the Kanye music video, people had known of her. I think she was just known, and I think
didn't.
most people didn't know what she did. I remember her
Besides
from the
acting.
Tyler Perry Byron, and I knew her.
I didn't
as
realize
an
that was her till you
actress.
just said it. I was like,
Really?
oh.
Seriously? You didn't know that was Tiana?
No.
Yeah, I only had knew her as an actress because she did a couple of Tyler Perry things actually, and then, but for some reason when the Kanye thing came out, people were acting, and maybe it was real, but people were acting like they knew her, like they'd been with her, riding with her. But that makes me ask myself, yeah, riding with her in what lane though?
Well, the
Yeah.
problem with this is she says mistreated, but that's all she said.
So
She
she
never
doesn't
said
say what
how.
happened.
She doesn't get into it. But again,
Lazy,
I
sneaky,
use this
jealous.
because it's an example of branding and contracts and stuff.
Yeah.
So, you know, you can't go on a tour, and I'm not saying she didn't, but I'm just saying contracts, because you very rarely see this. Why do you very rarely see this? Because people have contracts that say you're doing these dates unless something excruciating happens, and you have to default on it. And usually they give a list of things: sickness, terminal diseases. I think those are really the only
She's
two that will
probably
really
getting
allow
charged.
you.
Yeah,
I'm sure she
can't-
is. Like, you can't just. But then again, music can be its own world.
Yeah.
So, because Jeremiah is not a huge, you know,
And maybe
Ludacris
a
or
lighter,
T.I.
yeah.
or, you know,
Maybe some holes in that contract.
yeah, exactly. I mean, there clearly must be some loopholes, and if not, then she is getting charged. People forget contracts are, if done right, and they have the four ingredients, I'll say, which is this is from my paralegal days. A contract has to have legality, consideration. Crap, I can't remember the other two. In any event, it's four of them. I'm so sorry. In my undergrad's pre-law, I'm so embarrassed right now. But it's four. Offer. I think it's offer, acceptance, legality, and consideration. Meaning you have to offer something, somebody has to accept it. There has to be consideration for both sides, meaning it's not one-sided, and it has to have legality to it, meaning that it has to have legal language in it that will solidify it to be able to be taken to court. In this regard, if there was a contract, I'm sure she is being fined for this because she was in the middle of a tour that she walked out of. Now, how does this look for her brand? Probably not too good.
I don't think it
But
works
I don't think
too
it'll
bad.
affect- yeah, I don't think it's gonna affect
well,
her.
How do you
no,
figure?
No, okay, money-wise, the background noise, background scenes, whatever, production-wise, maybe. But I feel like at face value, at least fan-wise and how people see her, she is in a
he's
good
talking
enough
about,
spot
like, she's
where
possibly
she...
going on like tour with someone else.
exactly. So
That's what
moving
he's talking
forward,
about. So okay, in that case, it would kind of.
now you're in a
Yeah, I would
position
hurt
where
her.
people are going to go.
Oh, you
'cause
fell out on tours.
exactly, and you didn't give an explanation. So it was
Yeah.
just like,
You're
I've
just
been
in your
disrespected.
feelings, Yeah.
I've been disrespected, so
Okay.
now I'm not doing any more dates. So
it's
moving
kinda like-
forward,
Yeah.
Because she still keep her fans. We're still
Yeah.
gonna love her.
Yeah, her
But it's
fans are
just
still
like-
gonna like her.
Yeah, but we talked about this a while ago. When
Her
we talk about fans, when we
Oh my god.
when we
fans.
talk about fans, are we talking about people who are just going to use piracy to download her music, or are we talking about people who
No, I
the
think
people?
I think even the people that would go and see her, because at least from what I've seen in the comments and what I've seen from the response of this, is people are on her side, or people are like, yeah, she did perform very well,
Right.
and she's being honest about having been the best performer at that concert. And I think because of that, the people that are willing to pay for her performance are not gonna sway, because her performance isn't what got messed up. Like, it was still a good performance. It
Right,
wasn't like
right,
she
right.
got in her feelings and then started performing poorly, and then people were like, oh, she's not even dancing, she's not even doing anything because she's sad or whatever. I think since she kept herself hype and left on at least that good note, she's still going to keep the fans that steal her music and pay for it.
Well, I mean, it's a good move to do the free concerts. So, like I said, apparently she's doing free concerts for those that could not get ticket refunds. So it's a good look to save face. But
Yeah.
moving forward in the music world, how's that going to look when it's time to try to go on tour? Because
Does
going
she
on tour
really
on your
have that
own is
connect?
expensive. That's why you don't see very many artists going on tour on their own. Because
She's
when
on
you
tour
start
with
factoring
Jeremiah,
in,
So how's that work if you go into your own?
if you go on tour, and I learned this lesson from watching Mary Mary when they were doing their show, and Tina decided to go on her own. And when they were traveling as Mary Mary, it was so easy because you have the road managers, and you're not an independent artist, you're being backed by a label, so they're fronting all the upfront costs that go into a label. The cost of the venue, the cost of PR, the cost of marketing, the cost of traveling, the cost of the accommodation that go with traveling, food, lodging, money for traveling, paying promo people to do the promo for all this stuff. People don't account for because I can get social media to do a lot of that. You can, but when you're trying to secure dates to travel to different cities and get promoters and people involved, and you got to give them numbers. And if you've never been on tour and your numbers aren't that great, and you're not a Billboard 200 topping artist, you have to carry the cost of all this stuff up front. Because remember, there's no, I'm going to travel this city, and then when I get there, we're going to make the money to pay you. No. When you book these hotels and you book these venues, they want their money up front, or they want a huge deposit that as a new artist coming out, you probably can't afford.
Yeah.
So that's the difference
That's
between
why they
being...
usually do Europe. If you are going to go solo your first time, they have like 4 or 5 Euro dates. That's it.
Yeah, because it's easier to do it overseas because they're a little more acceptable and receptive to doing certain things without as much upfront cost, from what I've been told. But yeah, for up-and-coming artists, that's why you don't see very many artists jump out and do a tour on their own, because it's expensive, especially if you're an independent artist.
Yeah.
Because independent artistry are devoid of any backing from a major label. Because remember, and this is how you see the stories of people like TLC, Tony Braxton, because they realize after the fact, I'm living the life. No, you're not living the life. The company that backs you, your investors, in essence, have assumed all the upfront costs. Your photo shoots for your album, the album cost, the distribution, they've absorbed all those costs because they've invested in you to get their money back when you start selling albums. So being an artist, an independent artist, which that's what we're talking about on Friday with the 2 rappers we're coming, being an independent artist, you absorb everything.
Yeah.
And a lot of this stuff is not a pay-as-you-go type deal. It's if you're going to do this tour, we want all our money up front to secure, because I say you get to this venue and nothing happens.
Look.
You only get 10 people show up, but we fronted all the costs for this event.
Yeah.
It's a business.
You know who's still, Big Sean, he's a big name, and I think he's only headlined 1 tour, maybe not even that. And I've been surprised because I pay like chump change to see him, and I'm like, you're Big Sean, what are you talking about? Probably because he can't afford it. No offense, Big Sean. You're good. You had some albums out there.
Yeah.
Well, it's there again. If you look at the dichotomy of music, you will see how things work if you really look at it. It's when you start getting into collaborations. There's a reason why people collaborate. That's Cardi B. Cardi B just has a song now with Maroon 5. You think that was coincidental? That was not coincidental. It works for both sides because it puts Maroon 5 in touch with her audience, which is the same audience that got her to be the first female to have like 2, I think, consecutive singles on the 100 Billboard charts at the same time.
Yeah.
This is the same audience that got her there. Reciprocally, this is the same audience for Maroon 5 that keeps still Maroon 5. So it's a pairing that garners both sides another level of success.
And then
These things are not coincidental.
Cardi B's fans who don't know Maroon 5 about to download Maroon 5 music, like, they're the one who sings "This Is Love" from that good movie I like.
Moves like Jagger, stuff like
Yeah.
that.
They
Like
kept themselves alive They really did.
It's a
They-
reason. There's a reason why they do all these things. So everything is about business, whether you like it or not. And trust me, we'd be here all day if I really got into the
Like marriage
start
is
dissecting.
like
Yeah,
business
that's
deals, too.
dissecting it, that kind of stuff. But we don't have the time. And on that note, we're gonna do our wrap up. So everybody, give your final thoughts. Star,
Wow.
no, let Star go last because she's her
okay,
last day.
okay. Well, Star, it's been a pleasure. I'm definitely going to miss you here at this internship program. It's been a great time getting to know you. She's definitely a star in my eye as far as personality.
That was so corny.
I'm
That
a
was
corny
so
guy,
corny.
but however, it was sweet and it's meaningful.
you.
She's a bright young lady.
Accept it.
Bright is
Actually, I'm gonna let you go last. I'm gonna go now. So join us on Friday when we have Vigilante and Double R, who are independent artists in hip hop, and we're gonna look at the stuff we just started talking about. What does this industry look like for an independent artist who is devoid of having a major label backing them? Star, you get to have the last thought.
Okay. Well, I had a great time here. This was so enjoyable. Thank you, Ricardo. You better believe I'll be hitting you back up as soon as I touch down back in the ATL.
I expect nothing less.
And yeah, I just really enjoyed my time, especially with all the other interns. I actually really don't have very many friends in Atlanta. So now I'm happy that I at least have some friends or some connects. And I think at least I think everyone's going to make a name for themselves. So I know I said I'm going to be bougie when I make it big, but y'all can't be. So just
You're not
wait
being
on
more
that
bougie
text.
than me. I just want to put that out there. All right, everybody. Thank you for tuning in today. Again, I will see you on Friday, same time, same place, on the Leadership Blend with your host, Ricardo D. Rice.